And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Overwatch League Melee. We have read a bedtime story to Bren and Sideshow, and they are off to the land of Nod. We're going to be seeing you through for the rest of the night. I'm, of course, Matt Pixie Carroll, and I'm joined here with Kevin Avra-Walker to bring us the next two matches of the night. First up is Chengdu Hunters versus NYXL, but before we get stuck into that, I don't know about you, but I kind of want to reflect on what just happened between Seoul and Hangzhou.
Yeah, we had some craziness here in the APAC division. Of course, we watched NA a little bit earlier on today, and now on to the Asian games. And this was, supposed to be one of the more one-sided ones, as, Brent alluded to many times throughout this match. But Seoul Dynasty came in as the lowest seed across all the Asian teams. And, I mean, look at that. We have a 3-0. I don't think we really expected them to be, I would say, winning this game. Hangzhou Spark, to me, seemed like the better team on paper. We were maybe expecting Architect to come through. That didn't actually happen for the Hangzhou Spark. Seoul as well weren't playing Slime, but it didn't seem to matter for them either. They were looking very flexible in terms of their compositions. Profit back on the Echo, and they looked like an improved team. We thought they weren't going to be this good, but Seoul proving us all wrong.
I feel like it's like the good Soul showed up, right? They made the very clear point, right? You either get the 3-0 Soul or you get the 0-3 Soul. And it was very telling that they were the team that went unpicked as the other teams were picking out their brackets. Nobody really wanted to face Seoul, and I think we've kind of showed why. Even if it's just that element of randomness, obviously it's not pure randomness. Seoul played well. They've clearly improved at this current meta, but I mean, it was just a fascinating thing to see play out, in live time. And I think Hangzhou, and indeed all of the teams that aren't Hangzhou and weren't knocked out by Seoul, kind of made the right call in not going up against them. And with that, we've had, again, a pretty great start to the APAC side of the Melee. You mentioned the NAEU side. So with that, I want to bring us in now to Chengdu versus NYXL, where, again, Chengdu are this weird kind of wild-cardy team, maybe even more dramatically than Seoul, in that there are those glimmers of hope in the record, in the history between these guys, and I can't wait to see what they actually pull out. Let's go ahead and see what their starting lineup is going to be for the evening.
Pretty standard across the board here for Chengdu. The big talking point for me, I would say to start off with, in terms of what's missing here, is the fact that we have Lingsa starting over Yveltal. Now, Yveltal is supposed to be the main support that, to me, is in the starting six. He's the guy that's been playing most of the matches. Lingsa is one of the new guys coming in from the academy team for Chengdu, and he's coming in with Molly, right? So these two guys, at least, are very experienced. They play together a lot. But IMX, kind of a little cautious, a little... I'm not too sure what Lynx is going to bring to the table here in terms of why they were playing over Yveltal, so that's a little bit strange to me, but otherwise, looking at the rest of the roster, pretty standard across the board. Leave and Jinmu are obviously the standouts.
Yeah, it's like you said, aside from Yveltal, this is like Gumboot Chengdu Hunters. This is our normal-ish state of affairs. I don't know that I could ever describe Chengdu Hunters as an entirely normal team, but you get what I mean, right? And of course, technically sat on the bench there. I don't know if we're ever really going to see him, but Tracer is in the meta right now. There is always the Bacon Jack option.
And Bacon Jack is maybe only going to be there if we're really looking at Ashe and Widowmaker and, the hit scan picks here. But I think even across the board, between Jinmu and Leave, they will be able to cover most of the bases, so I'm not really seeing much of a space for Bacon Jack to be really coming in today, and same for Ting, really. I think Among is just the main tank option for Chengdu at this stage, so Ting's not really going to see any playtime.
Pretty fair assessment with that. Let's go ahead and take a look at the lineup of our number 3 seed here, the NYXL, and again, I feel like this is starting to become the more standard way of them playing.
So looking at NYXL as well, big missing piece here is Who Are You, who'd been playing a decent amount of games for them so far in the season, and it'll be Sabiolbi and Libero picking up the pieces here, so realistically just expecting a lot of Echo play, match with the Sombra as well. So, Who Are You, I think his position has been mostly taken over by Libero in this particular roster right now.
Certainly seems that way, at least at this point, and I mean, I guess that does leave that question mark over the team. Is there a world where they bring Who Are You back in? But they seem to be pretty sold on Libero, and I mean, it's working for them, I would say, fairly enough. Assuming they dispatch of Chengdu here tonight, it'll continue to work, is, I guess, what my thoughts on that would be. I also do want to touch on that kind of compositional side. Obviously, you mentioned that Echo Dive is a bit of a mainstay in the meta. That doesn't mean it's all we've seen. We have seen some double shield, we've seen some more sort of anti-dive. In fact, just saw Hangzhou Spark pulling out a very constructed anti-dive composition. Obviously didn't quite pay off for them in the course of Hollywood, but point being, like, there are still these alternative options. It's not like teams just have to be able to play one team comp and then, you know, make the best team at the meta win.
Well, let's consider the fact that these two teams have a decent amount of experience against each other so far this season. Week 12, it was New York Excelsior beating Chengdu 3-0. Week 13, 3-1. So, you know, across 2020, Chengdu have taken one map against NY Excel this entire time. It's otherwise not looked too great for them. So this is a bit of a matchup where New York chose Chengdu. They wanted to play against this team. Chengdu's a bit of a wild card. Could see a few different options coming through from them. They could surprise, but otherwise New York are the heavy favorites.
And I think that's, again, that's the complete fair assessment of this all, right? Like, this is the team you'd want to pick based on what was available at the time of picking. Again, given the teams were trying to avoid Seoul, despite the fact that they were the lowest seeds, then, you know, number 6 gets picked out. You go, cool, what's the next lowest? And it's Chengdu. And as much as I say there's that wildcard element, it's much less variable than Seoul Dynasty. We talk about those glimmers of hope, though. Like, there have been things across their record within the scope of the last couple of weeks against some of the other Asia-Pacific teams, obviously, where, you know, there's been maps taken off. They've even picked up some wins in there, and that's what, if you are a Chengdu fan, you're going to be hanging your hopes on tonight. Because, like, let's not beat about the bush here. This is absolutely New York's match to lose.
And Chengdu, where they have won previously, they got a 2-0 on Nepal. That's that one map that they were able to get in the bag. So looking at controls maybe being the key matchup here. That's the key game mode for Chengdu to get off to a great start. If it's not for that, I'm a little bit concerned about their capabilities. They did get a draw in Paris against New York as well, so maybe something to work with there. And looking at maybe, you know, another reason why Chengdu on control could possibly be the matchup is due to the fact that Among on the Wrecking Ball is probably another pick that they are really heavily investing in.
Like, I feel like it'd be hard to not note and talk about that Wrecking Ball. Like, it's always been, I don't know, maybe like the Chengdu special in a way. They've always been playing Wrecking Ball, it feels, to the point where I like to think of it as somewhat iconic. I absolutely love the Chengdu Hunters because no matter what happens when they play, it is always highly entertaining, and that is what I want the most out of my Overwatch. And with that, I believe we are ready to get into this first game between Chengdu Hunters and New York Excelsior. We're going to be kicking things off on Lijiang Tower.
Last time these two guys played on Lijiang Tower, we saw a decent amount of Mei into Reaper, so I wonder if that's going to be on the cards yet again for these teams. Otherwise, looking at New York specifically, this should be really an Echo Sombra kind of team. Libero, Symmetra to teleport everyone out, and then he'll be swapping over to the Echo Soon.
And that's the thing, at least with what they're hovering, we're not seeing anything too oddball yet, and I doubt we will, at least not until there's like deeper parts of the series where maybe things have started to go awry for one team or another, but pretty bog standard with that Echo dive looking like it.
Links are coming out onto the Lucio as well, so again, not really seeing much here in terms of why he's being played over Yveltal, but time will tell. Molly on the standard for the Ana. And of course, actually, Brigida coming through. That would make a lot more sense for Echo Traces, Echo Sombra dive rather.
Yeah, so mirrored matchups either side. No team wanting to take the Zenyatta option here. Both looking to hang on the Ana for now, and I have to agree with that position as the opening scrap is very much going the way of Chengdu, at least in terms of ground gain. They've kind of forced the tanks of NYXL back, and Buffer had to wait out that Bionade for a hot second there, and with that, Chengdu going to be able to rotate back onto the point.
A decent amount of this early skirmish has come down to the amount of damage Lee was getting onto Mano, who's still in a bit of trouble now. Hubba also hacked out, so New York struggling to get in.
They did get a decent amount of damage down onto Among though, so Chengdu did have to give pause for a second, but now both teams squaring up opposite sides of the point. It is unlocked. That's a nice Bionade. Among bursted down as well. Libero with the beam coming in hot. Elsa a little bit low, and with that, Chengdu are really starting to lose presence. Jinmu slowly but surely getting run down by Mano here. I don't know if he gets out of this long term. Indeed, Xaviolbi is going to ensure that. That's going to be the point going the way of New York Excelsior as Chengdu more or less routed.
That's a pretty decent cleanup. You can see Leave is still just getting one kill on the exit. Leave, who already has the duplicate available. Looking across the board here at Sabiolbi with the EMP though. Jinmu unfortunately doesn't get to live for very long. New York just biding their time, finding the right opportunity to push in, and they don't actually allow Chengdu to get any percentage points on the map itself, despite Chengdu actually taking early control of the point.
Something that's really curious to me, though, the biotic grenades landing in the right targets is what creates a lot of these opportunities, but actually it's Molly who is massively outstripping Jonak in terms of that nano boost being available. That doesn't matter if you get EMP'd, my friend. Sabiolbi coming up big on that one, and Among getting solidly bursted down, barely topped off there thanks to that nano boost finally coming through in the nick of time. Primal Rage, a decent corner trap, but Sabiolbi is just a bit too slippery. So New York Excelsior, they are on the back foot here. That's instantly going the way of Chengdu, but it ends up being a fair investment, and they haven't actually rotated onto that point yet. Still just in cleanup mode. NYXL are going to be happy to walk away from this with what will probably be at least 65+%.
I think Lee did a lot for their team there. Jinmu used a very late EMP. I'm not too sure what he actually managed to get with that one. Still looking for a few kills to finally get this cap over, you'd imagine, pretty soon. New York, though, will still be rewarding them with roughly 70%. The rest of the players now just trying to delay a little bit longer, but Chengdu leave, getting that early duplicate, copying the Winston over, buying a little bit of time for Jinmu. That's exactly what they needed.
I don't know if I like that stall. I mean, 65-71, that's not a big amount of accruement from Hotba, just kind of giving up his life and all that ult charge that comes with it. If they had to push them up maybe to 80%, could have agreed with it more, but NYXL are still in the driver's seat. Arguably, it's Chengdu who have a lot of ground to make up.
Chengdu, double tank ultimates available, and note that Sabiolbi's back on 90%. There's not a lot of great defense against EMPs here. We're really just looking at the rallies. Link Sister a little bit away from that one right now, Mano. Straight in with the nano boost.
And that's the one ultimate they have at their disposal, at least until the CMP from Sabiolbi is ready to go. And as soon as it is, he hits the go button. Among having already been taken out thanks to that earlier nano boost, and now things start to come up for NYXL. Chengdu still have some ultimates. Molly holding onto his life, but not long enough to get that nano boost off. Unfortunately, NYXL just looking to play cleanup here. So Chengdu not able to get enough catch up. They needed to win that fight on the defense.
We'll have to look at Animo for the next fight as well. He does have rally available. Jinmu just a little bit off the EMP. Chengdu, a decent number of ultimates. You can definitely see a position for Molly to use the nano boost onto Among, open up the site, open up the this point from Libero, responding with his own potential duplicate. Sabiolbi just having to translate get away from that.
Chengdu do have the critical tools needed here, and most notably is that EMP. Jinmu is already angling for it. NYXL are aware of it, but they kind of want to drag this fight off the point by the looks of things, and that is going to force Chengdu's hand in terms of positioning. They are trying to keep members around the point so they don't accidentally give this one away, and that is a nice EMP as well. They have secured the overtime, might even get the cap as this fight plays out, but they need to be able to hold on to that. The two kills coming through are nice. Yeah, they've managed to hold on through that. There was a bit of a nasty Bardic grenade hand landed in the middle of that fight on about 3 members of Chengdu, but they just managed to keep them away to safety. Libero does at least trade that one back, but I think NYXL, they're just going to try and rally back into this as quickly as possible.
And Jonak had a really nice bionade of the 3 members of Chengdu there, but what you see is Libero, he goes for the duplication on Jinmu's Sombra there. He gets hacked out immediately. Jinmu drops an EMP, hits both Sabiolbi and Libero, and he's not doing a lot of that time. He eventually gets his own EMP off, but doesn't hit a lot of members. So NYXL, a little bit of catch up here. Still a little bit of time to play with. It's just a nano boost, and here's Sabiolbi getting that next EMP as well.
And this is the EMP we're looking for. Already again, early drop on Among. Exact same passage of play. Nano boost in, drill down Among, EMP to follow up, and it plays out just the same as the last time. NYXL having absolutely no issue running down Chengdu, who honestly don't have enough left in the tank here. Among won't even be able to get back in time, I think, to use this Primal Rage. Might just... I'm caught with my trousers down in terms of being a liar there, but even so, this is just a stall for Chengdu Hunters, trying to maybe get some members back in. They have found Jonak in that, so they're not completely out yet. Nice hack on Hotba. He can't reset that mech using the self-destruct. Now it's just down to a sleepy Mano with the Primal Rage, as Chengdu have actually managed to reinforce this point here. Oh! The rally getting cancelled out would have been absolutely massive, and Mano barely getting a few off both those supports. Chengdu are just up a tree without a ladder right now. No one healing these members up as soon as they start taking damage. It's all going to stick, but NYXL, they themselves are starting to run out of steam. It's really just Libero and Sabiolbi, and now with that beautiful EMP late in the fight from Jinmu, it's going to be Chengdu being able to get the regrab, and the overtime going to tick down pretty quickly here.
Among, he just came back at this point on time, and that's going to be the time ticked away as well. Chengdu, the double EMPs, Primal Rage is stalled out long enough for both of them to get in there. Leave, pretty key there. I was a little bit concerned as he picked the Winston on the other side. Is he going to go for the Sombra as well? Sombra ends up paying off for them, and at the end of the day, look, a great start for Chengdu. Slow start, but do get that round win at the end of the day to start off in this first map.
It felt like that just wasn't going right. It felt like nothing was going right for Chengdu. Like, they got a reasonable start, then pressured off the point, lose the point. They managed to cap it back, immediately lose it. I feel like there was a point there where, like, you're almost surprised to look at the scoreboard and see 99-99 and go like, oh, hold up, Chengdu might actually win this. It felt like they had more ground to make up, but at the end of the day, you've really got a compliment for them for winning those more crunch time fights.
Be looking over towards double shield now. Ryan Orisa onto both sides, and Savior will be staying on the symmetry. That is going to be the key pick. He needs to stay alive.
The double freight train play there, and it's Mano who's going to get derailed, unfortunately. Both of them just kind of trapped between an ice wall and an ice wall. There's no rock hard place analogy to go with that one, and NYXL just one man down. Chengdu should be able to capitalize on that, but it is actually NYXL with positioning over the point. Chengdu need to pick their moment. That's the moment
picked already. Hotfoot down. That's going to be one of the key picks. New York struggling now. They need to do a lot more damage. The Save Yelby has not got a lot of protection available to him. He goes down as well.
Yeah, that's just going to be the cleanup now from Chengdu. Nicely played out there, leveraging that advantage thanks to getting the early pick onto Mano. Like, if you take out the Reinhardt and then your very next pick is the Orisa, you're almost guaranteed to win that fight. So that is a good start, certainly a better start than Night Market.
Molly as well, the only ultimate available. Both teams, the amplification matrix is going to be pretty key. Just waiting to see if New York are going to be the responders on. There's a little bit of time remaining for them to maybe get a couple ultimates themselves. St. Biolby is nearly onto his one. Libero as well. Get over to both the maze here with the Blizzards.
I really want to see what they can accomplish with their amplification matrix. In fact, throwing it out quite early. Ice wall, yeah, just going to stop that. Nice shadow around the side, but not the hottest in terms of actual catches. Deep charge in will find Jinmu, but that leaves Mano way far forward. I'm surprised he hasn't gone down yet. Finally does, but by the time he does, Among has also gone down on the other side of things. So with that, NYXL hitting quick and hitting hard, just kind of countering what Chengdu had to bring to bear. And now it's Chengdu investing heavily into what is an unfortunately lost fight for them. The light wall as well out from Sabiolby just to secure things. So Chengdu will come back in with more ultimates for the next fight, but that was a bit of a tough loss.
I think a lot of this comes down to the fact that New York were able to enter point so effectively, walling off the amplification matrix from Molly, not allowing the rest of them to get their ultimates off. I mean, look at Jimmy, he died on what, 99%. Leave as well wasn't able to get the Death Blossom. New York now just respecting the space, moving back to the point.
I want to see how Chengdu come back in. They've got to first make their way past this supercharger. The Blizzard's a good way to do that, though. They're going to be able to get 3 freezes up on that, and all of them are going to go down. Excellent placement from Jinmu, and that is going to be an almost freebie for Chengdu. Just that committed on their way into the fight. Very cheap, brilliant bargains.
They haven't allowed New York to get more percentage points either. Not allowed New York to really catch up at the state. Chengdu have a lot of ultimates, and this is where I think the composition is going to start really shining as well. They can really get a nice spawn cap going on with all the ultimates available, and Matrix has to do a lot more work than they did last time. Look at Liberal to maybe try and stop this.
This is a good situation for Chengdu. That's the thing. They've got kind of all the chips, but that's a brilliant trap onto Among. So suddenly, 1 chip less. Chengdu no longer sitting on a full house. Supercharger down as Elsa gets popped, and suddenly Chengdu are massively on the retreat. Utterly routed here. Leave thought about, I don't think he was really going to commit the Death Blossom, but he wanted to at least get some love taps in, and ends up being Chengdu throw down 2 ultimates that accomplish absolutely nothing for them.
And so much of that comes down to Libero, who right now is still securing kills for New York. Well, late staggers here, Molly down as well. Amplification Matrix still available, saved it from that last fight. And Libero was able to just cut off the entire team of Chengdu. They went for the side push. Chengdu tried to rotate there as well, but again, it just comes down to the ice wall. Completely locked
Suddenly
down.
the shoes on the other foot.
In position for the Blizzard.
That's going to be a nice early coalescence. Lever's in position to shut that down, though. Nicely done. Taking out Jonak. Good freeze onto Mano. Allows that damage to stick. And Chengdu, they read that play. They didn't want to let NYXL get that spawn cap off. And it was definitely a possibility between the coalescence. They had the Blizzard just about available. Came up right as round when Libero died. So really nicely handled by Chengdu. They have a great read on what NYXL's game plan is in any given fight.
We're getting into final fight territory pretty soon here, as I can start to see Chengdu ticking up towards 90. If New York end up recapping here, they'll be into the 80s and 90s fairly quick too. It could be the 99. With the Liberal once more, the Blizzard could be absolutely critical.
Nice sound barrier, but few of them a little bit frosty right now in that Blizzard. Molly is going to fall victim, but the fight is not the point. Oh, Jiminy Christmas. That's the critical one, NYXL. You do have to compliment, though. Chengdu's positioning there was actually preventing NYXL from getting to the point. They had to fight through a lot just to get there. And with that, Chengdu just out of nowhere have picked up the first map of the series. And I feel like we're still only just starting.
Well, that's the thing. We got a quick 2-0 here. Chengdu kind of out of nowhere. I kind of thought that was going to maybe go for a little bit longer. New York were going to recap that one, going to be pushing us to another possible round. But yeah, it doesn't really go that way for them. So Chengdu actually lost Lijiang the last time these two teams met up, so they get a bit of revenge there. And as sort of spoken to, that opening control map is critical for Chengdu, and getting that on the board now is going to give them a little bit more to work with in the rest of the series. It's
a pretty hard start for Chengdu, and I mean, like, touch wood, but are we going to see a second lower seed upsetting the higher seed situation here? I feel like Chengdu are maybe feeling that Seoul energy right now, but let's see if that is enough to power them through to the finish line. We're going to see this series continue just after this break.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League. The Overwatch League is brought to you by Pringles Wavy. Big crunch, big flavor.
And welcome back. Cheers for sticking through that one. And I don't know if anyone really had time to go and get like a sandwich and a cup of tea or anything. I feel like everyone ought to be glued to their seats because this series has already started off absolutely hot on fire with Chengdu picking up map 1 against NYXL.
Yeah, and across two different types of compositions as well now. We've seen Chengdu just really come hot out the gates. New York, a little bit of an unexpected loss going into that control. I think there's still a decent amount of gas in the tank for them with the rest of the series. They are still the team we expect to come out on top, but Chengdu also mentioned they are a huge wildcard team. Anything is possible.
I absolutely. I don't know if this much was possible. Actually, that's not fair. They have picked up those maps, right? But you sort of look at that, and there's still a bit of a gulf between that and picking up a full series win. And I suppose it is now that gulf that they need to be looking to cross in this next map. It is, of course, going to be NYXL's map pick as we move through the series.
We'll be picking Hollywood moving into this as well. This is not a map that they had played against each other any time recently. Overall score between the two teams in terms of maps is now 2 to Chengdu versus the overall 6 to the NYXL. So really it's still quite heavily in NYXL's favor in terms of at least history, but it's about what we see in the May Melee now. What happens in this tournament? Who's better on the day, as we saw in the first match? Seoul, we didn't expect much out of, but they were better at that particular match against Hangzhou, and now Chengdu, if they continue this, they might be another team, like you mentioned, having that underdog victory.
All right, and with that, let's go ahead and get stuck into Hollywood, where I am curious as to what compositions these teams are actually going to end up running, because we did see a little bit of a shift in gears in the last series, and we've already seen both of these teams willing to play multiple compositions.
Chengdu at this stage in the game playing Hollywood A. Back to Sombra Echo. And as we've seen, you know, sort of across the field now, how to play this composition, it's really looking at the flick support position. That is the kind of X factor here. You play the Zen, you play the Ana. Now, we've seen a decent amount of both, but I think specifically for Chengdu, Molly has played a lot of Ana. This is definitely his pick over the others. I think, to be fair, Molly's best pick might actually be the Moira, but if we've got to pick between Zen and Ana, he's going to go for the Ana.
And I can't say I disagree with that. The Ana has been coming up pretty big indeed for both of these players. Molly, I feel, has outpaced Jonak, at least in terms of charging up those ultimates on time, and we'll have to see if that continues to be the case on the defense. A lot of good Bionate angles for defenders.
It's an exact mirror match as well. Really, this fight comes down to Saebelby versus Jinmu for me. Whoever gets the early EMP. Again, EMP going to be a huge factor. No Zenyatta's at all, no Transcendence. For the counters, opening bio is decent.
Hack on Animo brings him low as well, but NYXL are going to be able to absorb that first little bit of pressure. Question now becomes, how do they actually choose to approach?
High ground control being taken here, but you can see the Leaves damage is excellent. He's slightly ahead of Libero at this stage in time, and Jinmu's considerably ahead of Saebelby. If they can keep that up, they'll have the first ultimates.
It's kind of just a window that is fast closing for NYXL. Indeed, as Saebelby takes that pressure, has to back out. Good flank from Jinmu there. NYXL, it feels like they're starting to run out of time if they want to just get an opening pick, and indeed, Mano feels it. They're going to try and make some magic happen as they push on in. Hot for trying to follow up, but the hack out means he's a little bit stuck on the ground for now. It's all just Mano, but he's got a nano boost in his back, and that ends up being the first ultimate to come up. That's a brilliant pick onto Jinmu. No EMP, he was so close to that, and NYXL, just before that window closes, have managed to find their way into this point. Now it's going to be about maintaining that lead, getting those finishing kills. They have managed to hold on here fairly well, Chengdu, despite the early losses, and if they can start hitting back hard, then NYXL are going to run out of steam pretty quickly. Mano is still low. The rally is certainly going to help him and Hot by both, but they really need that EMP from Saebelby. Jinmu picks up a kill as well, and Saebelby's hacked. That's going to be him dropped. Chengdu Hunters, I think they've started to stabilize.
Amang has bought a lot of time for this team. Leave is still in here with Saebelby down. That's the key pick over for Chengdu. Now just to clean up now. Whatever they can get at this stage is all staggered kills. Chengdu have managed to hold on. They give it away one click, to be honest. I thought they were going to give away a little bit more. I thought this was going to be a very similar kind of momentum as to what we saw on Lijiang Tower, where New York just kind of blitzed in. They were slower on the ultimates, but they found the right targets. Chengdu, they still have aim.
It really feels like Chengdu kind of knew how to play their beats there. They knew what was going to be coming up soon if they could just hold out. They'd be able to take in some pressure, but Among drops early means NYXL off to a brilliant start once again, getting Molly just shy of the nano boost as well. Not that that could have gone onto the ideal target. You maybe throw it into the transformed Leave, but at the end of the day, this is looking like it's going to be the one for NYXL to clean up the fight and actually finish capturing that point. You can almost look at it as like part 2 of the previous fight, but because it ends up taking 2 whole fights, that is a lot less time available for NYXL.
Saebelby down again, Elsa demeched here. We'll see if that's going to be good enough for NYXL to still manage to get this cap at 91%. Just a few more kills. Among still stalling it here. The nano boost used for him, but eyes on Jinmu. He's got the EMP. That is the potential for the turnaround.
And if they can't land it in, then they could still be in the money here. In fact, throws it out. That's a really big one. Mano does still have the Primal Rage running, but Hot, but not going to be so lucky. Cannot, oh no, just barely able to reset the mech with the self-destruct. That could be critical in its own right, and it indeed is. That was very close. Chengdu Hunters nearly clawing that one back for a second time. Instead, NYXL will get the cap, but they now have a lot less time at their disposal.
Late deaths as well. Leave going down. That's huge. Libero just stays alive here. This in New York now getting a ton of progress on the composition itself, and it feels like for Chengdu, the game plan has just been consistently stay alive, wait for the EMP from Jinmu. If you can't do that, unfortunately, Chengdu end up losing the cap, they end up losing the point. They can actually get these ultimates up online and have 6 available. This is going to be a much different game. Saebelby back on the EMP, Links are there with the rally, but will it be enough?
Really seeing Saebelby and Jonak as well. That nano boost is going to be a big factor. They've got a lot of mileage out of chucking that onto Mano. More so, I dare say, than what Molly has got onto Amon. Team's just flirting about it right now.
Looks like Animo might have used Rally a little bit early there. The arm will be kind of dissipating fairly soon. Jinmu's in a lot of trouble here potentially. Sabioli kind of just biding his time at this stage as Chengdu making their way towards the cap itself. Aim up. Where is his primal going out?
Seems like Chengdu want to hit that go button now, but unfortunately Molly gets dropped by Libero before he can get the nano boost off. That was something they really needed in this fight. They're now just essentially resources down on a one-to-one basis to NYXL, and now Mendes down as well, but actually good trade out there. Finding Mano, it is traded with Jinmu, but there's still some glimmers here for Chengdu, who have kept some members alive and now do have ultimates coming up on rotation.
I don't think New York have done enough here. EMP hits a couple, but not enough. Leave. They're still alive at the end of the day. Among. This is the guy. He's been teetering on the brink of death multiple times here. Molly's still alive, so the nano options available. Leave, however, can't be saved.
That was a bit of a boo-boo, and Molly got brought really low. It seemed like Chengdu, right when they were just sort of in rescue mode with a few too many low members and biotic grenades landing in, that was when Leaf got pounced apart, and suddenly the floodgates opened there. Jinmu going to get dropped out. Chengdu cannot put up the same kind of resistance. Even with that nano boost getting off just before Molly goes down, it's still not really doing anything for Chengdu. It just kind of ends up being a bit of a wasted cooldown for them. And on the whole, NYXL, again, it feels like it's taking like a few more fights, but they are getting it over the line.
Well, New York have been able to keep this one fight going for a while. Notice they haven't really reset this entire time onto B. It's just been one prolonged engagement. Molly, he goes down here. This is going to be Chengdu not really able to come back in, but I think Jinmu getting Libero is now going to finally force a bit of reset against New York.
Yeah, Libero kind of played Dance with Death a little bit there, was on quite low health, and relied on Hot for covering him with that defense matrix, but can't be covered when Hopper is now hacked out in the subsequent fight, as Chengdu have kind of sensed opportunity, but it's actually Amon going down first, not the engage that Chengdu were really looking for, and now they find themselves pulling back from that cart. NYXL have continued to advance.
And they have the right ultimates for this as well. They're coming up on both tanks, they've got both DPSs. The only things they're missing are going to be the support, still a little bit of armor there from Animo's Rally. New York, they have a minute 50 remaining. They got to get this in. I would say this push. This is the key push for them.
Eyes on Sabiolbi, of course. EMP could be a one and done if NYXL landed well. It's Animo down early though, and the EMP only catches two. It's both of the Winstons. That's a sentence you couldn't hear in 2019. And NYXL not off to the hot start that they really needed in that fight, despite the EMP being available for them and these other ultimates committed as well. The duplicate not really going off. Ideally, Primal Rage that Libero used didn't accomplish much, and NYXL held at bay for the time being.
And this is the kind of fight that Chengdu need to be having a little bit more consistently. They're able to force a full reset against New York, who again, they had a lot of resources. They expended both the DPS ultimates. EMP did connect onto Lee, but he had already used his duplicate, stayed alive with the Winston copy, eventually used the Primal Rage. The tables have turned, 1 minute remaining, and Chengdu have a lot of ultimates available. This could be where they draw the line in the sand. Chengdu could complete the hold right now.
Starting to feel a little bit like Control, and that Chengdu just kind of bring themselves to the brink there, and then if they can confirm that most critical fight, then they're in the money. But Lynx are down, Jonak not quite traded out, so this is a poor start for Chengdu Hunters, who actually could have invested more ultimates there if they really wanted to guarantee that one. They will still have those ultimates to try and make a defense happen after some of these respawners come through, but their positioning split.
Amon dies!
Amon got drilled down. The biotic grenade certainly not helping matters, but you've got to respect the damage output when the echoes are in play. Suddenly NYXL are on the cusp of capping this out. The time is starting to run short, but Chengdu are running short of ways to hold on here. The nano boost runs out, doesn't accomplish much. No more Elsa. Amon now coming in with the Primal Rage. It's not going to do it for them. The hack coming through onto Molly and Amon, and now the latter getting drilled down. The former long since dead, and Lengsa as well. Not even quite hitting the overtime there was NYXL, and you've got to really compliment that, steering that through, keeping cool throughout those final stages. And Chengdu, they kind of squandered a good position.
And it all starts with Leave going down so early. He's got such an important role to play on his team. He goes hunting on the back line. He leaves his Chengdu Hunters down 5 versus 6 here. And unfortunately, a Meng to follow as well. He doesn't use a Primal Rage, just instantly popped. Sure, he was bionated, waiting to see if maybe he can live long enough, use the Primal, then Molly can heal him with a Nano Boost. Molly instead has to use the Nano Boost onto Lynxer, who's playing the Brigida. That's not really the ideal target. Waiting for Leave to come back alive, and they're just constantly trying to pick up the pieces in recovery mode here. New York are in position to cap. They have a lot of members alive. Save Yobby still has an EMP. At that stage, NYXL, they're going to be able to finish the map. It's only 5.1 seconds, but I think Chengdu, at that stage in the game, really should have been able to hold C, and they weren't able to.
Bit of a tough break, one might argue. I would like to compliment the rest of Chengdu's defense, though. They did a good job of just kind of harrowing NYXL, slowing them down, bringing it to what was more or less that final fight situation. But at the end of the day, it's that clutch fight that counts. Those were the ones that Chengdu were winning back on control, but it might just be that NYXL is wanting to flip that script.
It's not been comfortable for New York so far. I'll give you that one. Chengdu coming up with their first map victory onto Lijiang Tower. Now really threatening to take Hollywood as on. I mean, they would have to be at the cap here, but if they get any sort of decent time back, that would be good. Oh my god, say Bjorby slipped. He's down. That is exactly the start you want for Chengdu.
Yeah, caught napping, and this is going to leave NYXL wide open as Chengdu start rotating towards the point. They know it, that fire grenade did land as Among was on the approach, but he didn't take much damage, and now he's healthy as a horse, or indeed as a Winston, a monkey, a gorilla, whatever species he is. What he is a cold-hearted killer. Well, he hasn't got a kill yet, but you get my point. Chengdu able to get a very favorable position around this point. They haven't got that quick conversion of kills, but like you said, they have managed to get that first tick through, so the pressure is on here for NYXL to find a way to push back in, and they don't exactly have a lot of ultimates coming up in a hurry. Jonak will have a nano boost soon, but so will Molly, and honestly, that could be the deciding factor here.
The problem is Chengdu have not converted onto a second kill. Now they've lost one. This is now 5v6 when they started, 6v5. York, they're going to go in now. Mano has the nano burst, and this will be Chengdu falling back. What a great opportunity for them to get an early cap. They just get the 2 ticks. You'll take the 2 ticks, but I think they were in position to convert for a lot more.
I mean, Chengdu forced back. At the end of the day, though, look, 2 ticks, yeah, you'd rather get the whole lot, but also they didn't actually lose much more than Among on the retreat, and that was the nano boost invested. Now coming in for round 2, Chengdu have some cooldowns and a brief window before Sabiolbi has the EMP. That's already the commitment coming in. Manual hack onto Leave is going to slow things down a little for Chengdu, but the rest has already been committed. Now they just need to make it stick. Good sleep, going to hold Among at bay. Sabiolbi in a world of trouble there, needs to stay alive. They need the EMP, and there it goes, 5 members. Among not caught in it. He might have to commit this Primal Rage to keep the team in the fight if they're going to go for it, and indeed they will. The double Primal, and finally things start to turn around for Chengdu, who came into that guns blazing, but took a long time to land any shots, finally connecting them through now, and the cap even comes through before the fight has entirely finished. This is very nice now for Chengdu. They're going to get a lot of free cleanup here.
Well, it's been a slower than usual tank. I think for Chengdu, again, they had a lot to work with early on. Perhaps could still get a decent amount of staggered kills here. New York just have to try and regroup ASAP. Chengdu, if they take the early ground here, get a decent amount of push. They have the EMP available, no great defense. Jonak is going to have to take a bit of a step back here, make sure he just plays with the nano boost. Ideally, the EMP lands on the tanks. Jonak's able to heal them up with the nano boost, or at least one of them, probably Mano. And then NYXL is still in the game, but it comes down to Jimbo.
Elsa temporarily hacked. It's going to slow things down a little bit on the approach. Chengdu don't want to fight just yet. They really want to move that cart further forward a little bit before it gets to the point where they have to engage. Actually, Mano might just want to throw a wrench in that one, indeed, trying to keep the pressure on Chengdu, who might have no choice but to fight. The nano boost invested. Sleep, though, onto Mano. Everyone just love taps, love taps.
See where Chengdu want to take this engagement as well. You can see that they no longer have control of the high ground. That's a bit of a problem for them. York just constantly harassing. If Leave goes down, it's a big problem. 3 members hacked out.
It's all on the back line, and Elsa able to follow it up. Brilliant placement there with that self-destruct. Nicely done. A bit of a cheeky 1-2 punch on the ground into the back line there, even catching Libero. So Chengdu has managed to pick their moment. Bit of pressure forward. Sabiolbi is going to slip out of that one alive. Elsa not so lucky, but there should be some cart progress still for Chengdu.
And I think that's a bit of a problem, leaving Sabiolbi alive. If they get that kill, they maybe just slow down this regroup from NYXL, who are relying on this next EMP. The fact that Sabiolbi gets out alive, you can imagine them regrouping fairly quick now. 5 ultimates, nearly 6 online for the New York side. Should be coming through at any moment now. This will be the defense where they get to really pick their heels in.
Elsa's been able to get back here as well, so everyone's bringing full force to bear. EMP out, not the hottest catches, 2 members, and Leave slept, so that might just be enough to give NYXL a leg up. They need to get these rest of these ultimates connecting, though, and so far they haven't been quite so lucky. Libero's Primal Rage still running, but not going to be running for a whole lot longer here, as Chengdu still keeping the pressure on. A lot of legs in this fight now, as all ultimates are down, but Speaking of down, it's Molly, the first casualty, finally, as all of those ultimates have been invested. Really, it's just Among and Elsa. Among's Primal Rage has now run out, and Elsa doesn't want to have to commit that unless he really has a great opportunity. But NYXL starting to get dropped here as Chengdu, they keep things going. Even with losing members, they recognized they had a more favorable position that outlasted the worst of it, but they do need to clean up the rest of these kills relatively quickly. They need to respect that NYXL have a fairly close respawn, all things considered, but with Libero going down, that should be the final one, and that will be the cap on B.
And a lot of this comes down to the fact that Chengdu were able to survive against the EMP. Sure, Xavier drops that one, believe had already used a duplicate. Linksa was already using the rally, so they had the defense. Now look at this, able to get a lot of staggered kills as well. Chengdu have still 3 minutes plus to work with, still got the EMP in hand as well. New York are just losing members. Xavier will be good for 2. Chengdu are still on the push.
Yeah, I'll be happy to grab those ones back, though, if you're Sabiolbi, because honestly, Chengdu shouldn't want to take this fight for a little while yet, and Sabiolbi only 30% left on the ult charge. Should have an EMP by the time push comes to shove.
About 2 minutes and 45. I can see that Chengdu might need about 2 to 3 good pushes to maybe cap on through again. They need to be able to get this cap, to be able to go the time back.
Nicely done. Absolutely devastating. Now they just need to get the kills. They need to make it stick because, oh no, the hacks run out and Sabiolbi's coming into his own EMP. Might not even need it at this rate. Chengdu not quite able to make the damage connect. Good reaction by NYXL. Just back away. Not let Chengdu dive onto them freely. NYXL just kind of all playing bodyguard for one another.
And the one person they didn't get was Animo. He didn't even have a rally. He'll have the rally finally now, but New York survived so well against the EMP, and I think that's something both teams can really look at here is realistically the EMPs have not been as effective as you'd like, even if they hit a lot of members. Among now going for the deep dive, but look at New York Excel. They have a lot of ultimates, and Libero will get the kill.
Yeah, Libero knows what's up here. NYXL, they're happy to start investing big. Libero is slept, but he's not exactly in a lot of danger just yet. Among wants to maybe change that situation, but there's so much to chew through with NYXL right now. The rally, the extra health on that. Now Chengdu, they're investing. They do not want to let this one go away. I think they are aware that time is starting to run short for them. They've thrown pretty much everything they have into the mix here. Self-destruct up from Hot, but finds Linksa. Chengdu, it feels like everything they throw in doesn't quite work out for them. Even the 4-man hack coming through with the EMP, they haven't managed to follow up the damage. NYXL are not actually threatened by it, and Chengdu Hunters end up having to pull back with their wounds.
Jinmu still in position. If he can land this, a lot of people can see maybe a turnaround. Chengdu are bleeding members. It's either now or never. If they don't use it here, they'll have to save it for the next fight, but they have to get their players out alive because New York, they got the control. Cart is still rolling backwards slowly. We're down to just 1 minute now, and Chengdu need to find some ground. They've lost a lot of momentum. Decent push on to B, but C has been mostly New York.
It felt like Chengdu just didn't know whether or not they wanted to retreat or continue fighting there.
Again, seeing where Jinmu wants to play is going to be very important. New York, though, they've been able to survive against EMP quite a while. Quite a lot so far. Leave uses earlier. Caught 4. Jinmu got 5. Every single time New York survived.
Nice manual hack there onto Mano just to open the gates a little bit. Now Jinmu's looking for the big one. There it is. It is a big indeed. Onto Jonak plus the other members that were remotely close to ultimates. Libero dropped early in that as well. And D-Mac on Hopper will result in a kill. This is the one for Chengdu. They might not get this one until overtime, but they only need to get it. That's the critical piece here. Need to finish off a few more members though, because Sabiolbi is going to come in hot with an EMP of his own.
Need to keep eyes on him as well. Chengdu still have the player advantage now.
There it goes.
4 members hacked up, and Linksa already used the rally. If Leave can survive this one, they can definitely turn things around. Among as well, just barely holding on.
And they have survived thus far. That's the critical thing. Artemo dropped that biotic grenade, keeping him down. Hotba as well out of the mix so early he couldn't affect much of the fight. Now Among, he will go down, but Chengdu, they still have plenty of force on this point. Plus a self-destruct just to ward NYXL off as this overtime wick gets shorter and shorter and shorter. Jonak dropped, Sabiolbi as well, and that should be it. Sailed cleanly over the line. Only 5 seconds separates it. Still very much anyone's map.
And I think this is far too close for comfort for New York right now, who again come in as such a favorite. Number 3 seed versus number 5. New York chose Chengdu in this part of the bracket now. They looked at the competition and said, this is the guy, this is the team for me. So this is going to be a bit of a wake-up call for New York if they end up dropping this map. Can you imagine a series where Chengdu are up 2-0 going into map number 3? That certainly would be a bit of a nightmare for New York.
I tell you what I'm starting to imagine. I'm starting to imagine the bracket where Seoul Dynasty and Chengdu Hunters 3-0 their opponent. Look, this one is certainly not done yet, but what we're definitely seeing is Chengdu, first of all, they have the chops to take it to NYXL. Secondarily, they've actually beaten NYXL on that control. Like, you can talk about stats, you can talk about past results as much as you want. They're toe-to-toe in this series. I don't care about seeds at that point.
Chengdu have not beaten New York at a hybrid this year. In fact, they've not beaten New York at anything except for the control. That's something we've highlighted a few times now. They've at least gotten that map twice. You know, maybe if we go to 5 maps here, we go for another control map. That's where Chengdu will get the 3 and 2. But as it currently stands, definitely possible for Chengdu to maintain a bit of a lead in the series. But I think New York, especially when we look at how CE kind of goes here, very strong defense. Now they're back on defense. It comes down to how much progress can Chengdu actually make with only 1 minute.
Eyes on Sabiolbi because, of course, him getting slept right at the top of that first offense by Chengdu in regulation time. A lot of what opened the door for them, even though the actual cap took a little while, but this time they're not going to get that same kind of lucky pick, or indeed unlucky if you're Sabiolbi. Just going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, but without the same kind of time.
But again, even after getting that pick, they weren't able to cap the point off it. I think if they were able to convert onto another kill like Mano, that could have been it. To eat a bit of a bone, and he'll slow things down. We're down to less than 30 seconds. Chengdu know it, they gotta go in.
And there it is, Among already drops. That's a real tough break, and that wasn't otherwise great. Biotech grenade landing from Molly onto 3 members. They need to trade this out, and
That's
they need
huge.
to do
Look
it fast.
at that.
That's something. That's definitely a start. Mano as well. Can they finish him off? Leave does have to play a little bit careful for a hot second. He was hacked out, and that could have been the maybe following up one of those low health members. Instead, it's the other way around. Lengsa gets picked off around the side, and Chengdu are struggling to find further opportunities for picks, let alone finish off the members that they actually do bring low. NYXL, on the other hand, they're weathering what Chengdu bring to bear. Chengdu need to at least walk away with a 3rd here, otherwise their back is going to be very close to the wall, and it's not looking like they're going to get even that. The EMP from Sabiolbi to seal the deal. Final nail in that coffin, and that's going to be Chengdu forced off the point. No gained percentage. Now they need to completely hold for at least only 1 minute 5 seconds, but still has to be a full hold.
I think the big difference for me so far in this series, and particularly on Hollywood, has been between the main tank plays. It's Among versus Mano here, and you could maybe throw the supports in there into the mix as well, because Mano is able to stay alive, get into positions where he's not getting killed, he's low, he still manages just to walk off the point and get healed back up. Among, we've seen plenty of times, he'll eat the Bionade, he'll unfortunately get taken down, not being kept alive by the rest of his team. Credit to Molly, by the way, who's been really trying to keep Mano down, landing a lot of sleep darts and a lot of Bionades. Both him and Jonak have been really huge pressure plays this game, but at the same time, it's Chengdu not confirming kills, and New York, they're able to just outlive Chengdu, they're able to win this war of attrition here, and if Chengdu can't get kills with the lead, unfortunately, they're not really getting kills.
I will say, in all fairness to NYXL, the other part of that as well, it's not just Chengdu not able to finish off kills. Obviously, that's because NYXL are doing a good job at mitigating the members of Chengdu that would otherwise be finishing his members off. You see it on things like, you get a hack on leave, and he knows that he isn't quite going to have Among at his back. Even though he was at full health, he can't afford to just dive into that room by himself, not when hacked. He won't end up finishing off Mano no matter how low Mano is. He will die. So getting that manual hack, Sabiolbi, getting that onto leave, actually ends up defending the tank. You're almost like, I don't know, aggressively peeling.
At this stage of the game, New York did feel like the better defensive team on Hollywood so far, and that is basically evidenced by the fact that Chengdu were not able to get any progress. Let's see if New York now can be able to get one check with less than a minute remaining. I mean, surely New York, this is their time to put one on the board, make this a 1-1.
Jinmu and Sabiolbi saw each other there. The detective came up on Jinmu's screen. He's like, he's here, I know he's here. They're just going to exchange some blows. Jinmu needs to be careful here, though. Has to pull right back. And this is a ground gain now for NYXL.
Jinmu, man, he nearly went down. If that was a kill, that would have Sabiolbi getting revenge. That would also be New York just capping. And like you said, less than 30 seconds remaining. In fact, 20 now. Look at who's got ultimates. Jonak trying his hardest to try and get this nano boost to play.
Both teams are scrapping for the time being. There's going to be
Leaves down, oh
grenade, but it's not even the Bionated members that get picked off there. NYXL finding their way in. Lengsa finished off, and Libero starting to get unlocked here pretty handily. Might only be a few seconds left, but make no mistake, NYXL have the positioning. NYXL have the kills. NYXL are going to have that 3rd. They're going to have Hollywood, and they are going to tie up our series 1-1.
And that is not the first time that we've seen Leave, unfortunately, kind of just get picked up out of nowhere. It's a full 6v6. No one's gone down yet. Like you mentioned, he wasn't even one of the Bionated members. He just kind of just gets, annihilated out of nowhere. And that is just going to be the entire house crumbling down. That's where the start of the dominoes fall for the Chengdu. And we've said this already, but Leave on that Echo, if he's not going to be able to get the kills, then unfortunately for the rest of the team, it's just not looking great.
And it's been a little bit of a tough break, I feel, across at least the time bank part of Hollywood there. I feel like the regulation time was a little bit more even. Like, both teams were kind of dragging it out for each other, right? The defender often doing a good job of just slowing things down for the attacker, forcing them to take extra resets, running down the clock in that regard. So also credit to both attackers for actually being able to close out the map. But Time Bank tells it all. We're going to see if this continues to be the case, I suppose, as we move forward in the series, but that comes up after this break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's largest 5G network. Switch to T-Mobile today. And by State Farm. For auto, home, or renters insurance. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
And welcome back. It is Cheez-It time. It is time for our Cheez-Its break. Obviously brought to you by Cheez-Its. It's not Wave. Remind me what it is, Kevin.
Cheez-It Grooves?
Grooves, there we go. I was like, what kind of dance move is it? I couldn't quite get it in my head. I was thinking, like, is it the Macarena? I don't know. But this has been a bit of a spicy series so far, Kevin. So what have you got for me?
Well, I think this has been a little bit unexpected. I mean, we look at Chengdu as being the obviously lower seeded team. They're the team that you probably are not really thinking have a real chance of beating in YXL, but look, they're kind of doing it right now. And kind of what I want to bring up here, Crunch Time presented by Cheez-It Grooves, is what is happening with the Sombras. And we kind of, I think Brennan Sideshow kind of joked about this a little bit earlier, but that was London and Shanghai that they were talking in terms of EMPs not really hitting their marks and not really doing a lot. I think EMPs have been hitting this matchup. The big problem for me is we're not seeing EMPs result to direct team fight wins. Now, that surprises me a little bit because in this specific Echo Sombra kind of lineup matchup where it's a complete mirror as well, no one's playing the Zenyatta's. I think that's a big talking point. Jonak, if anyone's going to be playing a Zenyatta, probably he would be the one playing. He's probably one of the best, if not the best Zenyatta player, right? But we're really relying on Anis here. We're really relying on the fact that, Bionades and Nano Boost are the way to play the game for these two teams so far. No real defense against the EMPs, because typically that would be the Transcendence, and yet, just with Rally, just with regular healing coming through from the Ana, just with the Bionades and all of that, both teams seem to stay alive far longer than you'd expect during EMPs, and that is maybe even then exacerbated by the fact that Chengdu are the team so far that we kind of pointed out that have not been great at cleaning up kills, and New York kind of just winning by the war of attrition there. Leave dying at random times as well has not really been helping them out. But otherwise, Chengdu look competitive on Lijiang, a little bit, mostly still competitive on Hollywood, but I think New York will be expected to eventually just grind them out, and well, that is crunch time presented by Cheez-It Groups.
I think maybe the thing to say about it is, like, the teams have just seemed to have got really good at peeling away from those EMPs to the point where, like you said, when they come out, it seems to be more the frontliners, the DPSs, the tanks that are actually getting picked off in those instances. It's the people that aren't actually hit by the EMP because they're not necessarily hiding, they're not trying to stay in the back line. It's, like I said, it's members like Leave, it's the Echoes and the Winstons of the universe. But, well, that's going to be that, and we're going to see you on the other side as this series continues.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Cheez-It Groups. Deep flavor, deep crunch. It's a mind crunch. The Overwatch League is brought to you by ZipChair Gaming, the official chair supplier of the Overwatch League.
Gentlemen, where we are utterly neck and neck right now, and I don't just say that in terms of the one-to-one scoreline between the Chengdu Hunters and the New York Excelsior. I also say that in the fact that both of these maps so far have had relatively close results. We just had a time bank on Hollywood that was 5 seconds separating the two teams in terms of the overall time available, and then earlier to that, on Lijiang Tower, both maps of control went about as close to 99 to 99 as you can get. I believe the second one didn't technically go that far, but I think on the whole, this has just been, I don't know, a surprisingly close series.
Well, now we have to sort of go back and maybe we'll address that at the end of the series itself, but it feels like New York kind of just gave away control center onto Lijiang. Again, they weren't able to get to the point in time to contest the overtime. If they were able to, could that have been different? Could we have seen maybe a New York victory? They could have been 1-0 up in the series. This could be now 2-0 for New York. 1-1 though. Give credit to Chengdu to taking Lijiang, but as much as we say close in the regulation time for Hollywood, in the time bank itself, it was anything but. Chengdu completely smacked off the map, and New York basically capping in that one attempt to take us now to Volskaya.
I like to imagine that's what we're maybe going to see more of across the rest of these maps. I feel like we're going to see NYXL kind of figure Chengdu out, kind of have their number a bit more and start to look like flatly the stronger team. I think that element of closeness is going to start going away. And, well, as we come on in now to Volskaya Industries, let's see if that proves to be true.
Really keeping a keen eye on what teams will be playing here as well. Sombra is definitely still in for both teams. Linksa has, by the way, stayed in this entire time over Yveltal, and I wonder if that's because specifically we want to see Linksa on the Brigida. Maybe Yveltal is potentially, you know, he's kind of just the Lucio player of the team, right? So this is Chengdu kind of playing more to the depth of their roster a little bit in New York. Say they'll be actually going to run a Hangzhou. No, this will just be scouting. I think New York will just continue playing Sombra and Echo into this composition.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? And it certainly seems like between the two, NYXL have started to kind of figure out Chengdu's pace of play more than Chengdu have figured out NYXL. So indeed, it is going to be just a scouting Hangzhou and the forward movement on the Symmetra and then back to standard.
High ground taken by Jonak as well, assisted obviously by the Symmetra teleport. We'll see what kind of early harass Jinmu can do. Just the 18% to really write home about at this stage of the game.
Both teams just kind of chilling. NYXL enjoying the poke for the time being, and that's nearly a pick onto Among. Needs to be a little bit careful, and him being low might be a bit of a window for NYXL.
That's a bit of a scare. I think if Maymon goes down there, that's Chengdu losing Cap 8 pretty quickly, so keeping these guys alive to the early stages before we even really see ultimates come into play. Look at Jonak, those 61%. That early nano boost could make the difference.
Ooh, Mano just kind of dropped in the middle of nowhere on the point, and Jonak hacked out, but he couldn't do a whole lot to help him out. Couldn't throw out a Bionade or anything, and NYXL gonna have to pull back and lick their wounds.
So important here. This is finally now Chengdu getting those kills. How many times did we see on Hollywood, specifically Mano, kind of just evading death? Chengdu gets him really low, can't quite get him down. Similar to what we just saw from Among, I guess. Now both the Ana players will get the nano boost available.
NYXL taking that high ground opposite Chengdu, but eyes on the nano boosts and also the EMPs. Jinmu barely leads Saviolvi.
He's been nanoed so far. This is now going to be the question to York. Let's see what I can get with this one. The EMP hits 5. It's huge from Jinmu.
Yeah, nice point guard onto Mano there as well. Keeps him at bay. They could not get anything much accomplished there. So NYXL not going to find any headway in this one. Chengdu Hunters reading the play very, very nicely. Just as NYXL were doing to them a moment ago on Hollywood.
And this is, by the way, the defensive advantage for a player like Jinmu on Chengdu right now. The fact that you can get the early harassment as a defensive Sombra just going towards the attacker's spawn here, what, 18, 17%, slightly above Saviolvi. He's able to cash that in now while the EMP comes through for Jinmu. Saviolvi's only on, what, 90 to 95%. It's a slight difference, but it's a big enough difference that allows Chengdu to get the upper edge.
Also, that was only really one fight. That's the first genuine approach NYXL have made to the point, and they are less than half of their time remaining now. Chengdu also, our ultimate advantage. That being said, when everyone's EMP'd, there is no such thing as ultimate advantage, as Among getting absolutely popped in that early part of the fight. Linksa trying to keep the rest of the team alive. Chengdu need to figure out how they're going to approach the rest of this leave decides. They want the extra armor out of that, but as he's bionated, I don't know if it's going to be a reality for them. Unfortunately, it is not. Pop back into the Echo, and NYXL ticking up some percentage. Chengdu, they will have Among back in the mix in a hot second now, but by the time that happens, this point is going to be almost entirely capped.
That's because Chengdu, look, they don't have enough cap remaining to give away at this stage. Among should be back in the fight now. We need to see the Primal Rage pretty quickly. Links onto Jonak is pretty huge. If Libero can get this kill onto either Leave or Jinmu, that would be even bigger for NYXL.
That was a nice find onto Jonak, but he did get that nano boost off, so that's kept NYXL in it. But now Chengdu starting to take the lead. The DMAC on Hotfire, he will get finished off as well. Elsa go and hunt the killer for that, and Among as well. Deep onto Arnamo. Won't quite be able to finish him off, but it is going to force NYXL back, and that's the more important thing. Not losing that point gives them the chance to still completely hold here.
Now, if I didn't know who was playing right now, I would have assumed that this was New York defending against Chengdu, just staying alive, keeping guys like Among still in the mix. Yes, he did go down, but he comes back, uses the Primal Rage. The rest of Chengdu were able to still hold on, even without their main tank. And now Jinmu has the ultimate advantage again in terms of the EMP. We've seen him win with that already.
He has that over Saviolvi. That's the critical thing. Leave though.
Oh,
oh boy, it is traded though. Libero goes down as well on the combos of that, and that's the big one. Sabiobi getting popped at 99%. Only 10 seconds left. NYXL, I don't know if they can afford to wait for that respawn. Mano barely gets a Primal Rage off, but Hopper hacked out. Not going to be able to get that self-destruct off for a little while yet. NYXL need to figure out how to stay in this one as the overtime begins. They continue to lose members. Hopper D-Mech just shy of a self-destruct, and it's looking like Chengdu are going to do this one here. The EMP to come out to help close out on Mano. Now it's just a few straggling respawners coming in. Sabiobi gets the EMP off, but it's all just for show. No substance behind it. Nobody able to follow up as Libero is popped. And that's going to be it, Kevin. That's going to be the hold coming through for Chengdu Hunters.
That is unbelievable. We can see that both of the Echo players got traded for each other, but the big one to talk about, Sabiobi dying on 99%. They needed the EMP, and New York had one shot at that. He eventually comes back, used the EMP on the point, but no one's aligned from New York to really assist with this. Chengdu have held on. 91.6 is the progress for New York. When we thought Chengdu were going to lose the cap, when Amon went down, it was probably all over. They have to hold on for dear life. They're laying so with the rally pop. Molly couldn't keep Amon alive either. And you thought, okay, we're just going to go to B here. Pretty standard play for Volskaya. And I have to keep saying, look, if we didn't know which team was which in this particular matchup, you would have assumed it was New York defending first, and they were able to successfully defend against Chengdu. But now, Chengdu in position to win. In position to bring us to a 2-1.
The thing is, it feels like Chengdu haven't just shifted up one gear. They've shifted up two, right? Because previously on Hollywood, we were talking about not finishing off kills, not winning fights that they maybe should be, where they have the ultimate advantage. They get those early connections, they get members down low early in the fight, and then don't kill them. Now it feels like not only are they winning those fights they should be winning, they're also winning some of the ones that they shouldn't be winning.
Exactly.
Like the one where Amon goes down early. Suddenly NYXL are playing against a much more formidable opponent than a Mapagon.
And now you have to start opening up the conversation in New York. Maybe they're the ones not really finishing off kills. Look at where Chengdu were. They lost Amon. The rest of the players were somehow able to just keep things going. By the time, get the primal in there from Amon to come all the way from B spawn. And Chengdu now failing a really poor attacking phase. You can imagine that within 4 minutes, surely they'll get 91.6.
I dare say I would have said the same of NYXL, and obviously that didn't come to fruition, so I'm never going to count my chickens here, or indeed never going to count my hunters. Now, it doesn't really have the same ring to it, but either way, that's Sabiobi really dicing with death there, but he has got a bit of ult charge for his trouble.
And that's the 20% extra that can get them the early EMP. That was really crucial for Jinmu and Chengdu just a little bit early on. Chengdu still looking for positioning here. They haven't quite found the entry, and they are losing time because Sabiobi is already on 57.
I mean, yeah, it's far more than a 20% lead now. It's starting to get into the realms, rather, of 30% or more. The Sabiobi piling ahead of Jinmu. That's going to be a real critical one. I think Chengdu know that their window is fast closing, but it might have closed already with Amon going down. They're trying to get pressure on the point. Maybe at least walk away with the third, but it's not looking like it's going to be possible, and Chengdu know it. They're going to back out, live to fight another day.
And how many low members from New York
was
there, by the way? Mano, he has got to stay alive here. It's a little bit risky from New York to try and go for this kind of dive, but again, they stay alive. We're looking at defensive teams, so both teams on the defense were kind of able to defy death a little bit. If New York lost even one member, that could have been very different. Now the EMP will be in play for the second fight. Jinmu still not quite there.
He could get there in time, though, and that's really what Chengdu need to hang this one on. But if Sabiobi reads the play and gets that in before Jinmu has finished off his charge, then that could just be a freebie for NYXL. They're hitting the go button already. That's a nano boosted from Jonak, but Libero does need to watch himself, and the EMP only lands on Amon, who is not really in a lot of danger. In fact, it's Sabiobi in danger. Do not discount the hacked gorilla as NYXL now on the back foot. Not a lot left in the tank here. The rally is one thing. They will at least have the Primal Rage, and Libero will have that duplicate. Also finding the pick onto Elsa is a nice start for them. Chengdu have some respawners coming in soon, but a lot of ultimates they've not yet used.
It's taking a long time for Chengdu to really pull the trigger here. Like you said, ultimate's not used. That's going to be the first one. Leave goes, and EMP connects only onto Jonak, but they got to get these kills.
Again!
Jonak's still alive! No, finally he goes.
Not anymore, but again, that is an EMP that only gets one member. It is still a numbers advantage for Chengdu. Double Primal Rage for a second there, but Amongs has run out. Now Leaves has as well, but so is Libero's. Now Hotba getting drilled down. He is in a world of hurt. Out of the mech, and now down and out for the count. That's Chengdu starting to pull ahead in this one, and NYXL are feeling the vice grip around the neck. If Mano goes down, I think they're done for. Indeed, not going down means backing off and giving up critical control over the point. This is do or die for NYXL. They don't have anything to go on here.
Trouble.
Mano, he's already done for. The Nano Booster's got to keep them in here somehow, but I don't even know who you put it on that you can really hang your hopes on aside from maybe Hotbar. The Pulse Bomb's good. It will find lead. NYXL are desperately trying to hold on, but without Sabiolmi, without Hotbar, I think that's going to count them now 3-2 and 1. Knocked out. That is brilliantly done by Chengdu Hunters.
Is this the day of the day of defeat, I guess, for the teams that we thought were going to be able to win this one? This is going to be the highest seeded teams just continually falling over. The underdogs are just coming through so big right now. Can you believe that Chengdu ahead right now still by one map? They won Lijiang, they lost Hollywood by just a bit of a sliver, and then coming onto Volskaya. What a massive show. We didn't even get to go to B. They were just able to hold on to A, come through, took a little bit of resistance, but throughout that entire fight, it felt like slowly they were just pulling things over towards their side. New York were losing presence. Sabiolmi completely got smashed there once more, comes back on the tracer, gets a nice pulse bomb, but at the end of the day, they couldn't hold on. And Molly, I think so far has been the player for me. Molly has just been such a standout on the Ana so far, just securing a lot of these kills, sleep starts, hitting everybody.
Yeah, come up absolutely clutch. Look, I said it right at the top of this matchup. Chengdu are a team that are always entertaining to watch. And I have to say, if you are not entertained right now, then, like, the bar is too high for you. I guarantee you are going to continue to be entertained no matter how this series falls. And the way it will fall will all be determined right after this break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. Rank up with America's largest 5G network. Switch to T-Mobile today.
Welcome back to the Overwatch League, where I have but one question for you, and that is, are you a believer? Do you believe in the second upset? Do you believe in Chengdu Hunters? Because I have to say, Kevin, I absolutely believe.
I mean, if Chengdu win, I think London are going to beat Shanghai as well. This is how the day's going.
Right?
This is exactly what every team is able to do. Every single underdog so far has just been absolutely performing out of their minds, and you got to have a huge amount of pressure on your back if you're New York currently, because this is a match point for Chengdu, and I didn't think I'd be saying that.
I mean, am I even calling them the underdog at this point? Like, look, yes, the seed is lower. They've had some very, very mixed results. They are the underdog in a sense, but at the same time, like, we talked very fairly about those glimmers of hope in their previous matches in the most recent weeks, and now you start to look at that in comparison to what you have now. Like, look, seed 3, seed 5, that's still only a 2 seed difference. It's not like highest to lowest kind of disparity here. This was always achievable. but we still didn't expect it to actually happen.
I think New York needed to maybe expect that Chengdu had a little bit more fire in their bellies here, because Chengdu had always been the team where, you know, we use the word wild card, but in the best kind of way, because they're the kind of wild card team where they can be hard to prepare for. They have a lot in the bank, a lot in the pockets that you have to be careful of. And Chengdu, despite not really, by the way, we haven't even really seen Among play the Wrecking Ball, so it's not even like, oh, New York are just losing to random comps that they're not prepared against. They're losing to Wrecking Balls, they're losing to other things, they're losing to weird stuff that's currently in the meta. That's not the case. Chengdu are playing extremely standard structured gameplay, and they're kind of just beating New York on a one-to-one level right now, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's not like that sort of funky Chengdu special like you were talking about with the Wrecking Ball. You're right, it is bog standard, at least in the terms of the current meta. I expect Watchpoint Gibraltar will proceed much in the same way. I also kind of mentioned in the course of Volskaya, it felt like Chengdu had kind of leveled up twice. Not only were they winning the fights that they had previously been losing, that they should have been winning, they also started winning a few where you felt they should have lost them. So now you go, okay, it's NY Excel who have to step up, and they don't have the grace of being able to lose another map.
Once more, we're back to complete mirror matches here. We've seen some great moments come through from a lot of players, but also some really upsetting ones. Abiolbi was one of the players on Volskaya that probably made a couple of mistakes, went down at the wrong time that really led to that loss. Mano's still been a bit of a standout, but even him, he's starting to go down now in a lot of places where he would have lived previously.
And conversely, I think we've seen Among start to survive a few more incredible situations. Good sleep on lead.
Oh, look at that.
Sabiolbi, oh, brilliant run down there from Jinmu. Noses Mark knew he had just still a moment left on that hack and able to finish that one off. And now pressure mounting for NYXL. Looks like most of them will get out of that one alive, but this is certainly going to slow things down.
That is exactly the kind of kill, by the way, the one that we just saw on the Sabiolbi. Jinmu finds the hack. Sabiolbi's out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, he's looking for ult charge for sure, but he needs to be able to translocate out in time, and that is going to just be very costly for New York. They're already losing presence here. They lost a bit of momentum. Chengdu looking for a really good start. Jinmu very far ahead in terms of EMP.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the real thing they've lost. They've lost about 30% difference in ult charge, and Jinmu getting an early EMP, assuming it connects well, which in all fairness, a lot haven't. That'll be a difference maker in this fight.
Still waiting to see when New York really want to pull the trigger here. Libero receives the nano boost, but Sabiolbi is hacked out once again. This could be a kill though, leave down.
Ooh. Nice follow-up there from Libero to make sure that one sticks. And Mano, Libero both low but neither down. And suddenly it seems like we're back to normal for Chengdu, but maybe not anymore. Sabiolbi does go down and Libero finally gets finished off. So it's only Mano that actually escapes the kind of low health death trap there and might not live for much longer here. Molly popping down to low ground, getting healed up by Lengsa, and they're going to stay alive, just playing point guard for one another are those supports. And now suddenly NYXL again grinding to a halt with about half of their total time gone.
I think a lot of the pressure against Mano so far once more comes from Molly. How many crucial sleep darts is he hitting? He's hitting a ton of bio nades as well. I think Jonak has been hitting decent bio nades, but we're not seeing the same effectiveness, the same impact come through from the sleep dart itself. Big news here is that Jinmu didn't have to use the EMP in the last fight, so it's all 6 available for Chengdu.
Merry Christmas. That's the full set of lights on my tree, my Chengdu Hunters Christmas tree. Hack onto Libero's critical. No duplicate for you, sir. Lee follows that one up, and NYXL back on the retreat. If they can win this fight with just that one ultimate invested, the duplicate out of Leave, that's going to be a very cheap one. But no, NYXL are going to make Chengdu work for this a little bit more.
Chengdu are in position right now to get a bit more clean up. New York don't want to commit it into this fight. The fact that Libero just dies, by the way, to the combination of Leave and Jinmu, this is, again, more kills, more single picks coming through that really slowed down New York. Animo, rallies coming through now. This is when New York want to push.
They are still coming into this low on ultimates. That only catches 2, but Lynx has already been able to get the rally off. They need to get those finish offs quick, smart, but Jonak's already down to the self-destruct on the other side as Jinmu's connection far better onto NYXL than what Sabiolbi accomplished on Chengdu. So with that, Chengdu Hunters again cleaning up, and that's that ultimate advantage just kind of played out straight. All ultimates used except Molly's nano boost, and as the dust settles, Chengdu have again held.
And Jinmu has ever slightly more EMP for the next charge as well, more charge for the EMP rather. Jinmu gets 4 there. Sabiolbi pulls the trigger first, but Jinmu's is just that much more effective, like you mentioned. Molly doesn't even have to use the nano boost, and coming into what will potentially be the last fight here, 35 seconds remaining. New York have barely made progress onto A. Chengdu now in position for the full hold.
I'm going to ask again, do you believe? But now I'm going to ask, do you believe in miracles? It's starting to feel like NYXL are going to need one. They have nothing in the tank here with only 20 seconds left. Sleep onto Elsa, though. That's a D-Mech. Nanabu going to get popped out from Molly, but they need to get kills. They need to make something happen here because those cooldowns are starting to come through from NYXL. Will have themselves a Primal Rage soon, and it's Chengdu who are waiting for Elsa's remake.
Jinmu will have the EMP in this fight as well, you can imagine. Big Bone coming through for Jonak. Needs to find a couple of kills though.
Animo! Again, why is it the members getting bionated that aren't the members going down? That's unbelievable. It's a 2-for-2 trade right now, and Among is certainly the bigger pick of the lot. It's Leave having to take up that tank role, but now EMP coming across from Jinmu. Can they follow it up? They might just be able to. Just between Jinmu and Leave, they've got Elsa still in the mix. Was able to remech. Leave down. Mano keeping his team in this, but only barely, and now not anymore. NYXL, they may have that closer respawn, but that's about all they've got going for them right now. Chengdu have managed to keep this on lockdown. Molly speeds back in on the Lucio to keep some presence. Overtime will disappear. That wick burns so fast right about now. Might not be able to get on this one. It is barely hot for keeping it alive, but NYXL have reinforced. Now a second EMP to come through, and Elsa D-Mech lengths a pot. No rally to come out. NYXL, it looks like they're going to keep this one alive, but how long for?
And finally, we get to see the NYXL that we thought showed up to this game actually show up now. Mano, he's still able to get some kills. Libero going on the hunt as well. This is going to be a little bit of a cleanup. Few more staggered kills, but it costs him everything. Say if LB and Libero both come back with an ultimate, both will end up being used. How that started as well was so critical. Jonak dies as the nano boost comes up. Jinmu once more just gets huge connection. If Leave actually survives right towards the end there, I think Chengdu hold.
It felt like it was going to be Chengdu's, but you've got to credit NYXL for just keeping that one alive, and feels like we're back to where they were on Hollywood if that continues to be the case. Look, they might be short on time, but they can still get a lot of work done. They're not going to go quiet, that's for much sure.
Now Jinmu, he's leading again. It's going to come down to the DPS players. There's still not a lot of time. New York can maybe afford a couple of losses here or there, but realistically, they need to get a little bit more progress. Mano, like you said, that's not ideal.
That's really not. NYXL wheel back into full retreats, and indeed the rest of these members look like they might just get out safe here. Pretty critical for them. Elsa, nice self-destruct. That keeps some pressure on, and they decide to pile in on top of that. Just kind of forced NYXL in an inescapable location. Nicely done by Chengdu, where NYXL were otherwise going to safely retreat.
And here I thought Jinmu was going to have to use the EMP. Chengdu would have to expend resources, but nope. Just comes down to a beautifully placed Molly. Prof Bione looks like a Molly coming through from him, and Chengdu once more repel the threat in New York. At this stage of the game, less than 1 minute remaining. Among just slipped right at the gate, but a Molly again.
Nice biotic grenade to cover them, like you said, from Molly landing that one through, and now eyes on Jinmu. This EMP could just end it before it starts, and NYXL might not get a second chance.
EMP, that's the critical call. I think we've said this already, but that's really what will stop this push. Libero receives the nano boost, instantly slip.
Leave does also have to pop the duplicate to go into the Winston, and a very quick Primal Rage charged up. This is huge. Animo's in trouble here. Both the Winstons bearing down on them as Libero goes down early. Massive! And the EMP just helping this all stick. Less than 20 seconds now is Chengdu cleaning up those members. NYXL, they're going to have one last shot to pile onto the cart just because it hasn't moved very far.
So importantly, say Belby survives. If he goes down, that's the EMP maybe taken out of this fight. Now 2 ultimates available. It's back down to Libero, so Belby, they need to carry the team again. Animo's ready up. The Hotbutt will lose the mech.
He only loses the mech, though. He wasn't hacked, so he could use that self-destruct to reset it, and with that, they have managed to get the overtime. Now EMP raking across Chengdu. It's Elsa D-Max. Among, even though he got the Primal Rage off, he doesn't have a lot of gas left in the tank, and now going down. Fully breaks down on the highway there, NYXL. Looking like they're once again in control and in charge. It becomes an overtime scrap, but this one a little bit less dire than the one for point A, and off the back of it, they will cap B.
The clutch potential here is really coming through for NYXL. We thought they probably weren't going to cap A, they got that one. We thought maybe it wasn't going to happen onto B, they get that one as well. When it gets to the overtime, it seems like New York are able to just go on to this next level, this next gear. Chengdu, they fall apart right at the final second. If they end up losing Watchpoint Gibraltar, it will be because of those overtime pushes.
And I mean, is this going to be snatching defeat from the jaws of victory for Chengdu? Twice now they've had an opportunity to close out the map in what would be a very favorable position. Now, even if they close it out, they're going to have to do a lot of work on their offense. And NYXL, speaking of offenses, they are certainly not done with theirs just yet, as leave down Hopper in a hot lot of trouble, but he is going to stay alive. Once again, Chengdu back to the classic of not quite finishing off these NYXL members.
Just waiting for Lee to rejoin the fight here, so important. Jinmu going down as well. Look at him, he was on 92%. This will be the push now. New York are in position. Libero is still fragging. He will have another duplicate.
Good news is Jinmu comes right out the gate. He will get that EMP up, but he is still leading Sabiolbi despite those few seconds of being dead. But he is going to still need to get a good connection in both these tanks. Among and Elsa both are in trouble. Elsa can at least reset the mech, but Among, you can't reset your regular health bar. Good catch onto Libero, though. That is an opportunity for NYXL, but that opportunity is going to be stopped up short by a 5-mana from Sabiolbi, followed up nicely by Hotba. And with that NYXL, once again, I think we might just barely see a lick of overtime here. But if that's what it takes for NYXL to get it over the line, then hey, if it's scrappy but it works, then it works, and you cap the map.
It seems like for New York right now, as we do expect them to be able to finish Watch Point Gibraltar like a wounded animal in the corner. They are so dangerous when they have their backs against the wall. Time and time again for Chengdu, we have to keep revisiting what happened onto A, what happened onto B, and now again onto the C point as well. As the time starts running out, as we head into the overtime, that final push for New York, where we think this could be it for them, this is not the one they'll be able to win, that is precisely the one they win every single time, and that's why they will have a time bank.
Suddenly the shoe's back on the other foot, right? And I almost wish I hadn't said it. I feel like I jinxed Chengdu. I said on Volskaya, they leveled up twice. They were winning the fights that they were previously losing where they should have won, and were also winning the ones where you'd expect them to lose. Now it's gone completely back the other direction. We're back to Hollywood, where they're losing the fights they should win, and then they're losing the other ones too. Look, they were still bringing NYXL down to the wire. A was their best moment of defense for Chengdu, but after that, it feels like they kind of ran out of X Factor.
That sounds like a bit of a riddle. Basically, what we're trying to say here is we're back to square one. We're back to expectations. We're back to on-paper predictions here, where New York come in as the favorite team, and they look like the favorite team again. It's not easy for them. It's taken them a while to be able to get to the position where they are winning, but I think this is New York that we expected to show up, and they need to keep up this form because Chengdu are still on match point. Chengdu could still make this one a 3-1 victory, and if nothing else, if we go to a game 5, a map 5 here, back on control, and I think Chengdu would be favored.
And that's the thing. Look, that 2-1 lead that Chengdu have accrued means that they are still in the favorable position, even though that full cap out came through. Even if we go the same way as Hollywood, where these teams are in time bank, all it takes is for Chengdu to kind of flip the script from that one to close this one out. And Bog standard out the gate once again. They need to set a good time.
I think for New York as well, A is where they need to bleed the clock the hardest here. Chengdu were able to push this into overtime on their particular A defense. That has been the biggest in terms of difference between the two teams, I think, that we've seen. Jonak will open it with a bomb Bionate onto 2.
In spite of that, it's actually Molly leading in the ult charge incredibly, but I tell you who's leading in KDA. It's Libero finding out his counterpart and leave. That's going to give cause for pause for Chengdu, at least for a moment. Or maybe not.
They'll get the return kill to Animo, but Jinmu going down, I think, is going to be a bit problematic for Chengdu, as they are the attackers, so they will just be able to reset unless they can find another trade.
And that reset is the critical thing. Again, that slightly closer respawn, but man, Linkson needs to not go down, and Sabiolbi nearly managed to make that one stick. What Sabiolbi has managed to do, though, is almost completely charge an EMP.
That's going to be important now. New York, I can expect this fight to be over fairly quickly. His connection needs to be good. His EMPs have been fairly 50-50 though, so I'm not too sure that it will be a guaranteed win. Molly in position to put a nano most likely onto Among, and that could be the position and the probability for Chengdu to maybe still turn things around.
I do feel like that window is closed ever so slightly for Molly. He had that before Jonak, or indeed before Sabiolbi had EMP, but now it's actually Jonak who pulls the trigger first. Sabiolbi follows there soon after. Molly also with the nano boost going out. No one dead outside. Actually, finally, Adamo going down. It feels like Chengdu have weathered the worst of it now as the primal rage from Among available, and just looking to stay patient. looking to use that at a more critical opportunity. And there we go, Sabiobi getting picked. It's suddenly go time for NYXL, but Mano drilled down out of nowhere so fast. You have to respect that biotic grenade. It cares not for your primal rage. Chengdu now well in control of this cart and poised to cap with a far better time than NYXL.
And they just hold into the server room. Chengdu with the storm here, they absorb the EMP from Sabiobi. Molly drops another fat bionade onto 2 members, and New York are just trying to get their members alive right now. Jonak going down, this is going to be a staggered kill.
Libero.
And Among is going to make sure no one touches cart.
Sleep on Libero, but they don't quite finish him off. He and Sabiobi are still under threat, though. They need to be careful. In fact, it's actually Artemo who needs to watch his 6, and suddenly now NYXL reeling on the back foot. Mano playing point guard just to give them some breathing room to regroup, but Chengdu have forced them all the way out of this hangar.
And the most important talking point here is the fact that Chengdu have a lot of time remaining. They didn't get pushed into the overtime onto A. They're now going to have a decent amount of time to get through the rest of the map. A lot of ultimates. 5 online. That's an EMP onto 2. Jonak's got to try and stay alive.
Yeah, it's not the greatest of EMPs, unfortunately, as Jonak got that nano boost. It did stop Artemo, but certainly didn't stop Libero, who finds out Molly on the other side of things. And suddenly Chengdu is starting to run out of steam here. Force back double kill for Hotba. Nice catch with the self-destruct there. I mean, Chengdu were already on the way out. They just didn't have a way to avoid that self-destruct, so good spotting of that opportunity by Hotba.
Again, we go back to the notion of the fact that sometimes the EMPs are not panning up for these teams. At the halftime break, we were talking about the fact that the EMPs were landing, but the kills weren't coming in. This time around, the EMPs are not really landing effectively as we'd like to see. Jimmu just getting the 2. Both the supports already using their ult, but staying alive. And New York holding on to this hangar point of B, and they need to bleed down this block quite a lot.
Well, guess who's getting bled down? It's Mano, no primal rage. Once again, that's so critical. And suddenly Chengdu, they come into the slightly more favored now, where otherwise I was afraid for what that EMP from Sabiobi could do to Chengdu, and NYXL need to find a better opportunity to take the fight. Chengdu going to try and stop that one short. They do not want a better opportunity to arise. Primal Rage barely keeps Among in it. They need to confirm kills, though. This has been what they've struggled with. Finally getting one through onto Hotba, but they traded out for Among, and this isn't the clean wash that it needs to be for Chengdu. They're having to scrap. Finally, an EMP looking to be available for Jinmu, but unbelievably, no one's there for NYXL. Funnily enough, Chengdu still make it happen.
That was ridiculous. Mano goes down with the Primal Rage Sun to hand. I thought Among was going to be the one who ends up dying with Primal. He was bionated super low, but he wasn't hacked. Mano, though, can't really say the same about him. He unfortunately is going to be one of the reasons that New York are not going to be able to hold on to B. Jimmu doesn't have to use the EMP just yet, can now save it for what will be a very important push. You can see that Chengdu have a real potential to get a decent time back.
Started to fear for Chengdu in that fight, feeling like maybe they were going to start running out of steam, running out of that X Factor once again, but instead, great amount of time on the clock, and now it's all about pushing it to the end. Brilliant one! Interruption from Jinmu. They do still lose Lengser, but it's not the end of the world if they can keep trading these members out. Losing Molly is another tough break, but that respawn is still a possibility. NYXL, though, they're starting to pull back. They don't want to get out-traded in this one.
Well, this time around, Mano's going to keep the rest of the team alive, or at least allow the rest of NYXL to retreat with still their lives available. New York now trying to regroup for this next run around the corner. Still 2 minutes and 47 remaining. Among doing a lot of damage here, but Sabiobi is going to eat the dirt.
Yeah, beautiful fight there from Leaf to follow that one up, and suddenly Chengdu are firing on all cylinders again. Hack onto Hotbar is going to keep him under pressure. Will be able to self-destruct to renew that mech, but wasn't a comfortable one. Actually is able to force the unduplication from Leaf as a brilliant biotic grenade landing on the supports. Chengdu, it's not going to be smooth sailing. They do have to confirm it. Among might just get traded for Libero here, going back into the untransformed Echo. Hotba is actually going to be the trade, but Chengdu, again, it's not these big, quick, clean, punchy fights that we need to see out of them. New York Excelsior are slowly but surely starting to run down the clock.
Among needed to stay alive there. Primal Rage was just only a little bit away, and then Chengdu could have continued the push now. They forced a Primal from Mano. That's very important. Mano could be stuck here as well.
Back onto Hotbar. His tank's under pressure. Chengdu have also fully respawned, and they have a lot of ultimates available. They are just regrouping.
Can't be taking too long, though. 146. We talked about them walking on to see with plenty of time, but that time is slowly running out for them. They have a lot of ultimates. We've seen them miss before. That is going to be Sabiobi on to 3.
Nicely connected and followed up with the nano boost coming through onto Mano. The counter EMP, it's decent. In fact, it's better than decent as Chengdu being able to hit back double. Mano slept off in the side there, is going to get dropped as well as Sunny NYXL finding themselves at only half strength, waiting for respawns. Libero will come through soon, but if more members die before that, before he can come back out of the spawn room, it's not going to count for much. NYXL retreated for now.
Look at the positioning. Mano needs to try and contest this one. Both tanks alive. Jonak and Animo, though, they've been firing it out. Libero's even onto the McCree.
I like this. The nano boost onto Among, playing point guard, stopping those respawners. It is an absolutely classic Winston play, keeping them kettled, keeping them bottled up. In fact, doubling up on the Winstons. It's so effective. And like you said, Libero done so means NYXL struggling to bring anyone out to this fight. Self-destructed the backline. Will at least deal with Elsa. That's something, and that's definitely more than nothing. In fact, Among as well. And Chengdu might start running out of steam as soon as they stopped keeping a lid on NYXL. The pot boils over, and Chengdu only 30 seconds left now.
Every single time at the 11th hour, New York somehow bring it back. 30 seconds now remaining. Chengdu still have ultimates coming online. Sabielby and Jinmu, both of them will have the EMP. See who pulls the trigger first. That could be the decider. Chengdu, they can still finish the map now, but they are on their final legs.
Eyes on Jinmu. He needs to get this EMP and he needs to outdo Sabielby. Granted, these EMPs have run very hot and cold for both these Sombras, but all it takes is one good one.
They spot each other as well.
Jonak's hacked, rather. Nearly said Honak's jacked, but that would be a completely different situation. Among, though, he might be getting jacked off to the side here as... I know, as the primal rage runs out, and he is going to be just fine for the time being. There goes the EMP, and it is the big one. Chengdu had been fishing for that. Oh! Self-destruct, follow it up. Bada boom, that's going to be the cap. 1 minute either side there. It's like Hollywood all over again.
And look at that. Sabielby was one of the members hacked up by Jinmu. We were waiting for the Sombrats, waiting to see who was going to be able to get the better connection. And Jinmu just completely takes the lights out of Sabielby. New York not able to be able to defend C. I do have to say, though, defensively as a team, we noted this onto Hollywood, but they were able to hold on for quite a while. And on to Gibraltar, very similar story here. A lot of time for Chengdu after A and B, but going on to C, New York bring this one back to an even 1 minute and 1 minute. Based on the lead that Chengdu had, that's a pretty big loss for Chengdu.
This feels like a classic example of the two different kinds of defense that run down the clock, right? There's the one that Chengdu did, where they run down the clock on each point, but the cart does still move, and then the cap comes through in overtime. Then there's the way that NYXL ended up having to defend, where Chengdu absolutely slam dunked them, but NYXL stopped them up short at the last moment on C, and it only just gets over the line. At the end of the day, it starts to not matter how it happened, because the net result is these teams are once again neck and neck, and that is with match point to Chengdu Hunters.
And I don't think Chengdu want to be in a position where they're only neck and neck here. They had the advantages. They were in the lead. Might I remind you, Chengdu could have held the point on either A or B, and they'll be kicking themselves if they lose this map because of that. New York in position now to try and bring us even 2-2.
I would be utterly impressed if NYXL can claw this one back, because there is still that control after this, but it's been such a nail bite. That's an early pick onto Libero. That's going to force NYXL back. More importantly, that halts their payload progress, and progress is the name of the game here when the time banks are even. Traded out for A-Monk, though. That's way too dangerous for Chengdu.
Can't be giving away those. Getting the first kill to Libero, that's insanely good, but losing Amon could cost the defense. 20 seconds remaining, or waiting for the main tank for Chengdu to come back into the mix. Where's the stoppage though? When do Chengdu go for this fight?
Sabielby as well, leading Jinmu is critical. If Jinmu was maybe ahead on ultimate charge, Chengdu could lean into that, but so far they don't have that possibility. They need to find a pick, and they need to find it fast.
This is going to be overtime. Talked about New York Excel, how dangerous they are into overtime right now.
There it
Taking
goes.
control of the server room. That's
Thanks,
going to
sir.
be kills coming through.
Oh, that's a double. Excellently executed in the server room, and NYXL way ahead in this mix now as Chengdu slowly but surely going to get dropped down, and it is now a distance game. This is the most critical fight for NYXL, because this is the one that guarantees the cap. Everything after this is all about meterage.
The fact that they even get A might just be enough damage done. Chengdu are going to have to do a hell of a job on their own attack now. Look at this. Jinmu nearly hacked through. Sabielby still has the EMP, but barely. Jinmu should be able to match pretty soon. Chengdu must win this next fight. Otherwise, they could lose B as well.
You've got to see Jinmu get another good EMP, and this time it's going to be even Stevens between him and Sabiolbi, who gets to land it first. Jonak commits. There we go. That's going to be a big catch, and Jonak dropped instantly. Traded out now for Molly, though. The counter EMP wasn't so hot, but if it kills members and Chengdu don't get the kills, then that's all that counts. Again, the payload is still moving, and it's all about meterage more than it is about kills. But you know what's better? Getting the kills as well as the distance. NYXL getting it all and a bag of chips right now. Chengdu struggling to get any kills in response. They're not even stopping this payload, let alone winning the fight.
This will very soon be unwinnable for Chengdu. At this stage, I think New York, even if they lose the next fight over towards C in 1 minute, the fact that they get 2 points is already far too much. Chengdu have really got to step it up now. Where does the buck stop for them? They have a lot, there's still time to stop this push, but really, Chengdu, it has to be sooner rather than later. We were talking about that even onto A.
Well, I'll tell you what, it certainly mirrors the regulation time attack from NYXL, wherein they capped every point in overtime, at least so far. This is just a very different brand of overtime, and we'll have to see if it ends up being that they cap out C. That would be an unmitigated disaster for Chengdu.
Mayhem now, he's going to go in with Primal Rage available hot, but
Hot for hack.
you have to prevent him from remaking here. That's a bit of a disaster. Chengdu
Gets back in.
these up.
It's an early kill onto Jonak, though, and that's the critical one that they've been holding out for. Elsa is demexed, but Libero might just go down. Indeed, he will. Amok off in the side here, keeping the pressure onto Mano, indeed confirming the kill, and this should be NYXL forced off that cart. The overtime wick will burn down very shortly if no one's on it. There it goes. It's a lot more distance, though, than Chengdu Hunters would have liked to see. It's better than the full cap in overtime, in-time bank, but suddenly Chengdu have gone from a winnable situation to one they are very likely to lose.
I think we're done here. This is going to map 5 for sure. There's no way New York are going to be able to fail this. You look at this kind of positioning and, you know, it would be a bit of a meme if New York did fail. And so far on to Watchpoint Gibraltar, despite Chengdu looking like mostly the better team, the later this map has gone, back towards this stage now, New York to me seemed like the far superior team on Watchpoint Gibraltar. At this stage in the game, we look at Chengdu, we look at the early mistakes there. Great kill into Libero early on, but losing Among rather at that stage in the game allows New York just to take position. Chengdu lose all their positioning over towards A, have both their supports kind of stuck in the server room, they get collapsed upon, both of them go down, and then from that point onwards, New York just push on through, they get A, they get B, and pretty soon they'll get all of Watchpoint Gibraltar.
You know, I tend to think you have pretty good opinions, but this time I really want you to be wrong. I really want to see Chengdu somehow pull this out. Certainly I want it to at least be not because NYXL misplay. I want Chengdu to level up again. I want to see them kick it up a notch. I'm ready for this to be an insane finish to the series.
Well, let me spell out how that could happen. Chengdu would need to find the opening kill unresponded by NYXL. They could get someone like Sabiolbi or Libero or Mano early on. That would New York basically giving up A. After that point, we'll be into the overtime, and Chengdu will need to play off momentum similar to what New York did.
It's not going to be Sabiolbi. They did get a good bit of damage, but naturally he was able to translocate away. Now it's all about what it is going to be. Chengdu, they cannot waste too much time here.
And already nearly 30 seconds gone. Just waiting for Among to be healed back. Jinmu's low now as well. New York has just been holding strong. Chengdu barely pushing in.
Just scrapping. That's all it's been. Beam not quite going to finish off Jonak here as the cart does continue the inexorable march, but fight point doesn't come for a little while yet, and time will be almost at overtime when the cart reaches that point.
Chengdu need to find their moment here. And on the attack, Among is constantly on 50% HP, and every single time he is, Libero could go in, speaking of Libero, to get hacked out.
Certainly can't go in just yet. The one advantage actually of Among always being low is it means Molly has an ultimate already, but with that huge biotic grenade, Jonak has one too. He's going to commit his first, and suddenly Chengdu, they have to commit theirs in response. NYXL got the first move in the fight, and now we have to see how Chengdu respond. No one down just yet, but ultimates are going to be a factor. Eyes on the EMP out of Sabiolbi.
Jinmu barely stays alive there, has to translocate away, but still looking for kills. When did Chengdu get some kills? That's the most important thing. New York are looking healthy right now. Nearly the EMP as well. Sabiolbi, if he strikes early, this could be it.
That's got to be the one, and it does come across 4, but they need to get the kill. Sabiolbi loses his own life for it, and Jinmu gets his out in response. It all flipped so quickly. NYXL, who seemed like they had Chengdu Hunters on the ropes, but no, the elasticity, they come back swinging, and that's a knockout. NYXL now going to have to get back up on the mat in the hangar.
You call it a knockout. I think it's a bit of a sucker punch as well. So Bielby thought he had the advantage, drops a pretty decent EMP, but Jinmu comes back in time, drops another very good one himself, and at that stage, Molly also lands a sleeve dart onto Libero, who had duplicated the Winston. York Excel potentially on the back foot, Chengdu pushing through with momentum in the overtime. It will take a perfect push through. New York only need to win one fight to rescue this.
Tell you what though, if Jinmu keeps getting good manual hacks, and that's certainly going to keep a lid on NYXL, who haven't had an opportunity to take any ground in the hangar just yet. Now only making their way in as the fight comes to the cart. That's such a dangerous loss. NYXL hold on a hot tick. Sabiobi Dunzo as the self-destruct goes wide from hot, but Chengdu do still have ultimates, but lengths have finished off, means they have less and less members. Leave at least able to duplicate a Winston, and they get rid of Mano. Libero's a long way from the duplicate. They cannot replace that tank, at least not even temporarily and not for a while. And now by that point, Among's going to have come back in. Chengdu could do this yet.
Jinmu, he's going to be the X Factor. Among is alive again. Primal Rage will have to definitely use it if he's in trouble.
Big one!
Connected, New York. Can they get some kills? Can they survive? Jonak in trouble.
This is what we need to see from Chengdu, though. We need to see them finish the kills, not just land the EMP. And losing Molly, that's going to keep things a little bit difficult for them. They do at least DMAC Hopper, and VD will finish that off, but it gets equalized with Elsa. Big Bionade from Jonak. 3 members, 1 of each role, and with that, NYXL are going to clean up across the payload. Well, they aren't wearing their clown shoes today. They're not going to let that one go. They are going to capitalize on the hard work they put in during their time bank offense. You've really got to compliment them, but at the same time, you've got to recognize that all that's really accomplished is tying up the series.
Jonak must have heard all the praises we were giving over to Molly, so he says, all right, I'm going to finish this one now. Drops insane Bionades. I think that's the biggest factor for Jonak so far. Staying alive, dropping Bionades. He hasn't hit the same impactful sleep darts at the same rate as Molly has, but otherwise, look, New York, they win when it counts. They win when they're on their back legs. They win their backs against the wall. And many, many occasions on this map in particular, I think Chengdu had it. This was definitely their map. This was their potential to get a 3-1 map score. And the fact that New York are able to claw it back out again, taking us to a map 5, I'm still surprised we're here, but now I'm also slightly disappointed that Chengdu weren't able to get the last map.
It really felt like Chengdu had it at so many points there, but this has kind of been a game of slingshot plays where the team with their back against the wall suddenly hits back hard. But now with both teams tied 2 for 2, both at match point, who's got their back against the wall really, and who's going to come out swinging harder? That'll comes up after this nail-biting break.
Coca-Cola is the official refreshment of the Overwatch League.
I asked you last time if you believed, and if you did, I think you needed to send a little bit more energy, because now we find ourselves tied up match point apiece between Chengdu Hunters and NYXL. Now look, I think it is fair to say that there are some who might not have even expected us to be at this point. I think one could have fairly assessed a 3-0, maybe a 3-1 to NYXL, but that one, we talked about it before, that control, that is where we go to next to even this up, or rather break the evenness of it.
I think when you say, expectations for NYXL to be the superior team here, that would have been basically everyone walking into this matchup, except for the really true hardcore Chengdu fans who, I think at the end of the day, are always hopeful that their team will do well. And now, well, this is the best they've ever done against NYXL. I mean, you look at the results across this year, 3-0, 3-1. We're going to a map 5 here. I think Chengdu have already performed phenomenally. The real question now can they close the series out, or is the typical New York victory that we expected from the very beginning going to come through instead?
And look, maybe that's the way it needs to go. Maybe it's got to go 3-0, 3-1, 3-2 before Chengdu can finally take a win out over NYXL. But you don't want to have to wait that long. But we kind of mentioned that they won control the first time around, and it actually was one of the more one-sided maps in a way, in as much as it didn't go to a third map. So now, as we go to control the tiebreaker, we go to Ilios, and we start to question whether Chengdu inherently have it in the bag, or whether NYXL still have a few bit more, more to bring to bear.
And if we're looking at Lijiang Tower as maybe the example here, okay, looking at that was a 2-0. However, you have to see the asterisks on Control Center. That was New York, unfortunately, not contesting in time. Sure, you'll say that's a mistake that definitely cost them the map. However, the question will always remain, if we actually got a fight, would New York have won? Would they even have lost Lijiang Tower? That will now need to be answered on Ilios.
Both teams, again, just running what's been working for arguably both of them very well so far. Opening scrap is going to be all about that health pack. Actually, it's not so much going to be all about it. I lie. Sabiolbi is, of course, on the Tracer.
And that's the most important thing here to really look at, because he's been playing mostly the Sombra the entire time. The only time he's actually bringing out the Tracers is when he has to Pyronate onto Molly and Lengsa, and that could be kills.
This is usually where we'd see Sabiolbi follow up and finish things off, but it doesn't quite come to bear. But they do take a lot of positioning. Mano, though, is the first casualty. That's what a hack can do to you, my friend. Jinmu, though, traded out of Sabiolbi, is starting to get a little bit unlocked between him and Libero. Just kind of playing ping-pong around this back line, throwing the supports between one another. New York Excelsior were also able to get the cap during that.
And Sabiolbi is absolutely showing up on Tracers so far. Pulse Bomb available, and of course it's Sabiolbi. He's one of the most classically good Tracers, one of the best Tracers that we've seen across the league in 3 years. It is a bit of a risky pick, though. The confidence level has to be really high. He's gone up against Sombra. He's also gone up against Ana and Brigitte, so this is not an easy matchup for a Tracer.
What is worth saying, though, is Jinmu is dangerously trailing in terms of ult charge. If he got an EMP relatively early, then that's where you see Sabiolbi potentially getting shut down, and the Sombra difference being a factor. So far, though, Sabiolbi's kind of had free reign.
We'll see what he can do as Libero as well. The dive factor here is going to be huge. Another huge grenade. That's going to be Molly crushed.
Oh, that is now, what, 3 in a row that have landed on exactly Molly and Lengsa. This time they end up being the 2 that go down quite early in the fight as well. But, I mean, if Jonak continues to hit those, it's going to be a clean fight and a clean map for NYXL.
Not only that, but I think the other thing to talk about here is that New York actually use a lot of ultimates. So Jonak instantly dropped the nano boost onto Mano, who, like you said, just crushes Molly, drops on his face. At that stage of the game, Libero also uses duplicates. So the resource has been spent. Chengdu, though, their time to maybe turn things around. They will have a few ultimates available, but we are still looking at Jinmu. Where's the EMP? It's taking so long.
I mean, at this point, he's not going to get it until like a 99% kind of situation. That is if Chengdu don't get the cap now, and I don't know if they're going to have a 99% fight unless this one is over quickly, and it's already taking a while to really get into the swing of it. No one down just yet, but ultimates have been popped. There goes the pulse bomb eaten by Elsa. Among in trouble. He's going to be the first casualty, interestingly enough, and suddenly Chengdu Hunters finding themselves without much left to bring to bear. Barely around this point. Nice EMP at last from Jinmu. Can they find these kills, though?
3 times is the charm. Jonak's going to land it again. Leave slip. Chengdu not out of this one. Just buying time for Among to come back. He's got a primal rage. No connection from Hot, but it's 99%. But Chengdu have nearly capped.
Jonak does have himself a nano boost, and they can just throw that onto the back of someone like Mano as he comes back in. But Sabiolbi, he's going to be on his way out, hot as well, and it feels like, again, another great biotic grenade here from Jonak, but it might not be enough this time around, especially if Molly can stay alive. He can't but Chengdu have killed more than have died. And off the back of that, you do the math. It looks like they should be able to close this one out. Just need to finish off these last few members. Libero will get a cute little self-destruct, but the cap has actually gone the way of Chengdu now.
Jinmu now, look at 90%. New York are not out of this fight specifically, so they'll be still alive. Jonak on the side of Libero as well, just kind of regrouping with the members. Chengdu still kind of on the back foot here, waiting for all their members to come back as well.
Look at the EMP though, Jinmu having that one available. It's going to be in a protracted fight. You could even argue this is still a continuation of the same fight as before, and that would make that a second EMP in the course of the one fight. He needs to land big, he only gets 2, but if they kill those 2, then that's 2 plenty enough. There's only 1 man going down so far, but Chengdu still in the driver's seat in this fight. Not anymore, not with Molly Dunzo. Again, trades though. How does this keep happening? NYXL finally starting to pull ahead, but man, it's been a tough arc.
NYXL pull ahead now. This will be the cap going open. They'll be taking us through the second round of Ilias leave. Is just trying his best to keep his team alive. He's got the duplicate onto the Tracer. He needs to do a lot more damage. Pulse bomb available.
We'll be able to throw that one out. Even gets a stick onto Jones, rather onto Animo, but thanks to the rally, it's not enough to secure it. So with that, Chengdu, they actually end up staying in control of the point for a bit longer, and both teams have again more or less regrouped in what is now a continued protracted fight.
Alcel's in a little bit of trouble there, still surviving. That needs to be a kill with this. Lee will finally take down Mano, and this is Chengdu's opportunity now. Linsa with the rally is keeping the team alive, and New York might just have to reset.
Sleep on Sabiolbi as well meant he had to use the recall to get himself out of trouble, so indeed it is a reset from NYXL, and suddenly Chengdu is starting to do exactly what they did on Li Zhongtao.
They've really had to try and claw it back though, haven't they? Will be another 99 to 99 here at New York. Let's see what ultimates are available. They might not need too many. That's a huge kill.
That's absolutely disastrous. Among at least keeps it and indeed himself alive using that Primal Rage, but they need to get kills. We keep saying it, and that has to be what happens for them if Mano can get this Primal Rage off as well. Wow, Sabiolbi down, and Jinmu's on his way back in. That could be the trade that they need to keep this one going. Among will go down because those supports were pressured. They couldn't keep on his back. And now the hack to come through, the EMP out onto 3 members, and they're critical members too, but they need to, again, get the kills. How many times have they failed to do that off the back of otherwise great connections? Suddenly Chengdu feel like they're starting to slowly but surely run out of steam.
He's trying to do his best right now. Among even comes back on the wrecking ball. If you can't win it with Among on the wrecking ball, then surely you don't win it at all. Sabiolbi connection with the Lingsa, and Chengdu, I think this might be it.
Trade back onto Mano, but I don't know that that's going to be enough here. The cap comes back the way of NYXL, and Molly is solo healing. They can't get the members on the point, unfortunately, without risking them dying. Molly was pressured out. You do see him kill Sabiolbi, but that was Sabiolbi keeping him off the point, and it is the objective that matters. NYXL have flipped the script officially. They are not going to go down in the 99 to 99. They are going to win what is actually their first round of control this series.
Now let me talk to you about what the big difference there for me as well. Okay, Tracer being played by Sabiolbi there. First of all, noted that this could be a risky pick. He's playing up against a lot of heroes on the other side that can counter Tracer quite effectively. However, because New York know how to play this composition, a lot of pressure. You can see that Molly and Lengsa, from a combination of using Tracer, Echo Dive, but also Jonak hitting Bionades time and time again, 3 or 4 in a row against Molly and Lengsa specifically. It just constantly keeps Chengdu on the back foot in terms of their supports, and Molly and Lengsa were just not able to play the game for the majority of that round.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sabiolbi is sticking with the Tracer, and look, if that's the difference maker, if that's what takes NYXL from barely losing control to barely winning control, then you are going to invest everything you have in that pick.
Looking at this positioning, can New York put the pressure on again?
Oh boy.
So far, it's a bit of a yes.
Yeah, Amon going to get drilled down as well with that anti-nade on him. Unfortunately for Chengdu, NYXL looking good in that opening skirmish, and it seems that the NYXL special is going to outdo the Chengdu special.
At this point in the game, Among, he's even looking to change back onto the Winston. I was going to say as well, so far, you'd say the Winston has been working out a little bit better over the course of the series. Wrecking Ball just used to try and play for desperation on that previous Ilios round, but now Chengdu slightly on the back foot. At least Jinmu isn't too far behind, but Molly and Lingsa, they're Bionated again.
Man, Jonak has been so on the mark. I think like 99% of his Biotic grenades have hit both Molly and Lingsa, and sometimes more players as well.
He's hitting people on cooldown. You see that Elsa was also caught by another Bionade. In fact, it's happening so consistently. Nano Boost going to come through onto Mano.
hunting for something. Might well just find Leave or maybe even Elsa, who again, Biotic Grenade lands on him on cooldown. And right now the Chengdu Hunters are split between the half that was retreating from Mano and the half that were on the point. They regroup now with no one dead, but it's all time gain for NYXL. But Mano in trouble now as the nano boost from Molly runs on Among. Can they finish these members off before the Primal Rage kicks in? The answer is a guaranteed no, unfortunately, for Chengdu, who is starting to run out. But Sabiolbi, goodness gracious, that's the special. And NYXL, they look so cool and calm.
I can't believe what I just saw. They say Biolbi drops the pulse bomb on just members flying past his face, gets 2 kills there, 65% now. New York absolutely running away with this game, and Chengdu out of options. They don't have ultimates either. Jonak's playing out of his mind. Say Biolbi's back for the Tracer that we know him so well for, and New York look like they're about to close this one out 2-0 on Lilios.
I want to see another one of those, man. I've had Pulse Bomb starvation, and I'm desperate to see more. Among barely gets the Primal Rage off in the nick of time, but Molly's already go down, and Elsa barely holding on to the mech, but no one's able to heal him up. Lynx are now dead as well. Elsa is entirely reliant on health packs. 95, gonna go towards the direction 99. That's a bump off the edge for Among. I think that's gotta be it. 99%, nothing left to bring to bear for Chengdu. Not even some crazy self-destruct, and NYXL finally claw the series back. That should not have been as difficult as it was for NYXL, but you have to hand it to Chengdu. They made NYXL work for the win. They're not just going to give it away for free just because NYXL are the higher seed.
Well, New York certainly took a bit of a detour in this particular series. It looked like it was supposed to be a straight road, 3-0, 3-1, something like that. Didn't think we were going to get to the map 5. And look, I think Chengdu, once again, we look at Gibraltar as the outlier here. That was their map. That was the map that they were supposed to win to make this one a 3-1. And had Chengdu actually won the series, I think Molly was deserving of the MVP award across both teams. But now, looking at how map 5 went, Molly was great for 4 maps, but suddenly Jonak turned on, and I mean, Molly unfortunately was a bit of, he was kind of invisible right towards the end, and Chengdu not able to hold on. New York, say Biolbi on the Tracer, clutching it through. New York were not going to allow this one to be a loss.
Well, let's go ahead and check out our Xfinity player of the match, though, because it's actually going to be Mano, and I think that is a completely fair enough call. Honestly, Mano, the consistency is maybe what we have to highlight, because, look, you did see great things out of Jonak, but it felt like he was not as impactful early on. Sabiolbi as well, we talked about the EMPs being hot and cold, but Mano was kind of this unsung hero the whole way through. I think that is a well-deserved player of the match to Mano.
Exactly. I can't really disagree with that one. If we had to pick someone from York Excelsior and deserving of that victory as well, looking across the board, a lot of slow play. You know, we look at the losses for New Excel earlier on, especially on the maps where it was kind of a little bit surprising for them to lose. And yeah, Sabiolbi, a little bit of a slow start. Got better towards the end. Jonak, slow start, got better towards the end. Libero, he was an adequate echo, but nothing to really write home about. Certainly not that much better than Leave, who those two players are really keeping up with each other. But the Mano versus Among difference was definitely felt across all 5 maps.
Yeah, unequivocally, I would say. And honestly, with that, I think that ends up being a deserved win for NYXL. Maybe for Chengdu, you have to say better luck next time. We kind of talked about it, right? 3-0 to 3-1, and now to 3-2. Maybe that means next time these two teams clash, Chengdu will finally walk away with the win. But today, NYXL will prove to continue to be the better. They will advance further up in the bracket. And with that, we have 3 of our semi-finalists determined. There is still, of course, 1 more to go.
One more match for the day for the APAC.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by Xfinity, the preferred internet provider of the Overwatch League.
Next round, but from the next one, well, we'll have to see how it goes, because so far the underdogs have been really showing it today. We'll see if London can be that team as well.
Certainly seems to be that way. You would absolutely say that Shanghai come into that one favored, but today does not seem to be going the normal kind of way. Even when the favored teams end up winning, it's a much harder match than I think they were expecting. But we can put a bow on that match and send that one away now. NYXL advance. Next match coming up after this hopefully short break, because I'm on the edge of my seat.